Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome. It's now time for the featured bout of the evening. From the four corners of the world to the four corners of this ring, the fight starts now!
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special. And it's no hype. I'm telling you, it's special.
No respect to this guy. Let's go.
Now he's got that fire on his side. You better believe it now. That was something special.
Canelo gets the win.
20 round team victory.
It is over.
Her professional record, a perfect one.
Remember, capture the body.
Great finish from a great finisher.
It was Lamb versus Lion.
And still the undisputed champion of the world.
Welcome to Las Vegas. This is Matchroom Boxing presents Before the Bell, and we're at the historic MGM Grand Garden Arena. Host Karan Bhatia. We have a stacked card top to bottom, and of course headlined by Devin "The Dream" Haney, only 23 years old. He will be defending his WBC lightweight title against the hungry, motivated JoJo Diaz. But before that, we have an amazing card, and we're gonna go through it right now. First up on Before the Bell, we're gonna be seeing Ricardo Sandoval. He's taking on Carlos Buitrago. Then Amari Jones, trained alongside Devin "The Dream" Haney. He's taking on tough Timothy Lee, followed by Alexis Espino. He's going to be taking on Rodolfo Gomez Jr. And our undercard is topped by Ammo Williams. We last saw him in the ring in March. He is back, and he's going to be taking on Quatavius Cash. And then later tonight on the Zone, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time, Mark Castro, only 22 years old. He's going for 5-0. He's taking on Ronaldo Solis. Then we go up to heavyweight. Filip Hrgović taking on Amir Akhmatovic, who is undefeated, but he will be tested tonight against Hrgović. Then it's the undisputed welterweight championship of the world. Jessica McCaskill, a.k.a. Caskilla, taking on tough Candy Wyatt. Love also in action, taking on tough Carlos Diaz. And of course, we are topped by Devin "The Dream" Haney taking on JoJo Diaz. So we're going to welcome you back in here to the MGM Grand Garden Arena. I am joined now by Eddie Hearn. So Eddie, there have been monumental changes in the lightweight landscape. Devin "The Dream" Haney has the WBC lightweight title. Originally, this fight was going to be JoJo Diaz versus Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia had a hand injury. Devin Haney said, I'll step in. He also said, hey, Tank Davis, I'll step in with you. What does that say about Devin Haney? He's not here to just challenge anybody. He's ready to seize the moment and take on all comers.
Well, firstly, Karan, I think we should just thank our lucky stars. I mean, look at this place. Steeped in history. Last weekend, of course, at Madison Square Garden for one of the fights of the year. Tonight, another huge fight for the division. We are very, very lucky people. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us as well. Now, in terms of the division, Devin Haney has been crying out for a fight that will showcase him to the world, that will show people the fighter that he believes and we believe he is. It was Vasily Lomachenko he was chasing. It was Ryan Garcia he was chasing. Finally, we found someone with the cojones to step in the ring, and that is the rough, tough style, the dogged style of JoJo Diaz. Former world champion, looking to become a multi-weight world champion. This is a serious fighter, but I believe tonight is the night that Devin Haney announces himself to the world. If he's all hype, if he's not what we think he is, he'll lose tonight. But this could be the crowning of an American boxing superstar tonight. We've got our fingers crossed. We hope he can shine on this incredible stage, and we can't wait for a tremendous card.
Absolutely. Devin "The Dream" Haney, this is his first time headlining here at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. He fought here once before as a 17-year-old. That was on an undercard. Tonight, a headliner. So that's a completely different stage, and he looks to shine tonight. Now, we mentioned all week about George Kambosos. He said that if Devin Haney or JoJo Diaz, the winner of that fight, wants to fight him, they have to go all the way to Australia. Devin Haney and George Kambosos got in a little face-to-face, head-to-head. So let me ask you this. Any concern in your mind that Devin Haney may be overlooking JoJo Diaz, thinking about the prize with George Kambosos and a first-class ticket to Australia?
I think it's impossible not to. You can say, I'm just focused on Diaz. But everybody's talking about Haney against Kambosos, but the problem is everyone was talking about Haney Lopez last week. George Kambosos strolled in and shook the world. This isn't a fight like Kambosos Lopez. These guys are quite evenly. That was a massive shock last week. A Diaz victory tonight is not a shock. He's the underdog. But, you know, Devin is so professional, so is his team. The absolute focus is on JoJo Diaz. But Devin Haney has got dreams and ambitions to rule the division, rule multi-divisions. And, you know, when we talk about going to Australia, absolutely. What a night, what an occasion that would be. You imagine 60, 70,000 people in Sydney or in Melbourne. And Devin Haney, you know, the American young protege, flying to Australia to try and become undisputed. That's how you become great. Do you know what I mean? You talk about, and it's, you know, it's very difficult to say Haney's the new Mayweather, but there are a lot of similarities. Early on in his career, Mayweather had to do things that maybe prospects that sold out arenas and you know, were spoon-fed didn't have to do. Sometimes he had to be the away fighter. He had to take less money, maybe not be in the A-side, to become the A-side. So if Devin wins tonight, I would actually prefer to see him go to Australia than I would see him do it in Las Vegas, because that's the kind of thing where a young king makes a statement to the world. But again, we're fast forwarding to May next year. Let's just get the win tonight. And Diaz is so up for this.
There's been a lot of comparisons made between Devin Haney and Floyd Mayweather. If you look at through 26 fights, it's similar to where Floyd Mayweather was. Now, to Eddie's point, there's a long way to go, and that journey starts tonight. Now, if Devin Haney is successful and he gets that opportunity for the undisputed lightweight title, right? That would be a unification. That's what we want in boxing. Speaking of undisputed titles, we also have in action Jessica McCaskill. She is the undisputed welterweight champion, and she's putting all of her belts on the line tonight against tough Candy Wyatt. Jessica McCaskill has a wonderful story. She's now with Matchroom, and she says she'd like to end her career with Matchroom. So what do you expect to see from Jessica McCaskill tonight?
Something a little bit more structured and precise in her boxing. But the key with Jessica McCaskill, the reason she's been so successful is because of her relentless, rugged style, where she overwhelms opponents. Cecilia Brackhouse didn't know what to do with Jessica McCaskill. Sometimes it's very unorthodox. But I saw her at the workout, you know, looks to be sort of just sitting down on her punches a little bit more, working off the jab. Candy Wyatt works all the time, and I think this is actually going to be a good fight. Bustos was the original opponent, didn't have a full vaccination status required. Candy Wyatt steps in. She was supposed to be fighting this weekend in Canada, so she's fit. It's the opportunity of a lifetime, but Jessica McCaskill needs these props. You know, she came over as a young, inexperienced box Katie Taylor at lightweight. She gave her one of the toughest fights of her career. She then moved up. She won a world title at 140. She unified at 140. Then she took on Brackhouse for the undisputed at 47. So I don't feel like she's getting the props she deserves. Tonight's about looking good, setting up a huge 2022. But again, you're facing a hungry challenger who has the opportunity of a lifetime.
There's a couple of themes going on. Hungry challengers and people seizing the moment. And that's what we like to see. We have a ton of young talent on this card, many young undefeated fighters, and we're going to get underway shortly. But before we do, Eddie, I want to ask you one more question about some fighters on this card. We have Filip Hrgović, of course, the heavy, one of the most avoided men in boxing, and rightfully so. He made his feelings clear at the press conference that he's not getting the fights he wants. It makes your job difficult because there's not people willing to fight this guy. Now, tonight, he's got a test again against Amir Admatovic, who is undefeated. So if Hrgović is able to be successful tonight, who do you look to see him match up against in 2020?
Well, he's in that IBF final eliminator spot, and we just want someone to step up. And it's such a great opportunity to try and become mandatory to Alexander Usyk. You know, 35% split with the IBF, you're going to be in a great position, but he is feared. You know, tonight I expect him to, quite honestly, you know, take this guy out in style. Amatovic is 10-0. He thinks he can win, which is probably the worst thing that could happen for Amatovic. He's going to get taken out. But 2022 must be that IBF final eliminator, particularly the Ortiz against Charles Martin winner. I think that's the guy who's going to be next in line for that eliminator. You know, it's a tough fight. Montana Love also tonight as co-main. He's got a really, really tough fight. This kid could be a superstar, Montana Love, but he's facing Carlos Diaz, one defeat on his record to Jose Cepeda, who is right there for a world title. He hurt Cepeda badly in that fight as well. That's going to be a banger.
Lots of bangers on deck, and of course on Before the Bell, we're going to be displaying so much young talent. Amari, we're going to be topped by Ammo Williams. We're glad to see him back after his mental health break. He seems better than ever, and he's going to be the headliner for Before the Bell. Now, the main event, we talked about it, Devin Haney versus JoJo Diaz. So we're going to take a look at that main event.
is the best lightweight in the world, unquestionably. You've got all these great, tremendous young fighters in the division.
I want all the top guys. Give me all the big fights.
Devin against JoJo Diaz is a great fight, and JoJo's a fighting man.
Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. Let's make this shit happen, baby.
He gets offered for a lot of money. We offered him the same amount of money. The only reason you turn down the fight is because you know you can't beat Devin Haney.
The fans want to see it. The world wants to see it. Let's make it happen. I'm ready to go.
Haney firing on all cylinders now.
December 4, MGM Grand Las Vegas, Devin Haney against JoJo Diaz. What a fight. It's the best division in boxing, and now finally the best are fighting the best.
You do a great job, by the way.
Oh, thank you. And we welcome you back to the MGM Grand Garden Arena. I am now joined by Alicia Bumgardner. So, Alicia, tonight, JoJo Diaz is the underdog. If we look at the odds provided by Bet Online, he's a plus 450 underdog. Devin Haney, a minus 700 favorite. You've been the underdog before in your career. What is that mentality like, and what do you expect to see from Devin Haney versus JoJo Diaz tonight?
Yeah, so the mentality to be an underdog, you know, you have this fire inside you just to keep proving yourself and just proving yourself to the fans. And as an underdog, you just feel like your back is against the wall, but you know what you're capable of doing. And I think we've seen in JoJo Diaz's previous fights that he came and conquered. And so a win against Devin Haney will really set him apart on who he is as a fighter. And I think it's going to be a great fight. But, you know, Devin Haney is definitely coming and staying undefeated, so.
If Devin the Dream Haney is successful tonight, that could set up a showdown with George Kambosos. Now, George Kambosos had said that fight needs to be in his home of Australia. You traveled across the pond to take on Terri Harper in her home, knocked her out in 4 rounds, made quick work, knocked her out while she was still standing. What would be your advice to a Devin Haney or JoJo Diaz if he's successful? If they have to travel into enemy territory to Australia, what would be your advice to them? Because you're going to have the crowd against you. You're in a different time zone. What would you tell them?
You know, my advice would be do what you do best. You know, I think as fighters, we have to go into other people's backyards. We have to prove ourselves. We have to challenge ourselves. Boxing is all about challenges. And so when we can go across, you know, into somebody else's country and improve ourselves, I think it's a more of accomplishment doing it that way. So, you know, keep doing what they're doing. You know, you have to keep pushing in the sport.
Absolutely. You have to seize the opportunity. That's what Devin Haney did when he decided to step in for Ryan Garcia and take on JoJo Diaz. And in terms of future matchups, that's what needs to happen. Now, we're here at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. The fans are going to start piling in soon. This is such a historic venue, and I want to know your perspective as a fighter. What do you think it means to fighters to fight somewhere like here, where we've seen some of the biggest boxing matches of all time?
You know, this venue, again, is beautiful. This is my first time in here, so I can just see myself fighting here and just picturing it. So the energy in here, you know, the crowd is going to come, and I think it's just going to be great. I think this is a perfect venue to fight in.
And I'm sure that you might be visualizing yourself headlining here one day, and if you keep up the performances like we've seen, that's definitely going to happen very soon. So let's talk about your future. There's a few names in play. Terri Harper, she may want a rematch, may not. We'll have to see what happens with that. We know Choi is another title holder, and then Michaela Mayer's name has also been mentioned. She also holds a title. It's been a little chippy between you and Michaela Mayer on Twitter. I've seen these tweets going back and forth. What's going on there with Michaela Mayer and you?
You know, I think she just, you know, she wants to fight just as much as I do. And I think, again, with this fight being one of the best women's fights you're going to see, that fight needs to be built. And, you know, we want to go after Choi next. You know, we want her title. We want the division to keep growing at the 130 division. And I'm the face of the 130 division. So, you know, I'm going to keep working hard. And, again, undisputed at 130 is soon to come. But, again, that fight has to be built with Mayer and I.
Absolutely. So if you get the opportunity versus Choi, how do you see yourself matching up with Choi? How do you see that fight playing out?
I see myself matching up to Choi, you know, there's no competition there for me. You know, in my mind, I see what I can do best and how I can take and seize the moment. And I definitely see her getting knocked out like I did to Terri Harper.
Well, I like the fact that we're getting closer and closer to unification fights, to undisputed fights, right? I think we all love this in the sport. And later tonight, we're going to be seeing Jessica McCaskill. She's the undisputed champion at welterweight. She's taking on Candy Wyatt. So what are your thoughts on that matchup? How is that one going to play out?
Yeah, so, Jessica, she's a come-forward brawler. She's going to make it dirty, and she's going to win, She wants to win. I think she, again, wants to stay undisputed. But again, just as we know in other fights, underdogs come, they have an opportunity to overtake. And so, again, I just see a great women's fight, as we usually always do. And I definitely just see Jessica coming out, being powerful and getting her hand raised at the end of the night.
Jessica McCaskill is scrappy. She's tough. She took on Cecilia Breikhouse, who at the time was undefeated. She took all her belts and then proved it again in the rematch. And now she's getting a chance to defend against someone else. That's going to be an exciting fight.
Yes.
On our Before the Bell, our main event is Ammo Williams. He's a young kid. He was cruising. His last fight was in March earlier this year, and he decided that he needed to take some time for mental health. And we saw him this week. He sounds better than ever. So I applaud that decision. I think that's tremendous. I think that's a good example to set for young fighters. When you need to take a break to get yourself right, do so. Your thoughts on Ammo Williams?
Yeah, I think what he did was perfect. I think, boxing is 90% mental, and you have to make sure that your mental is 100% before you step in the ring. And mental health is very important to a lot of fighters because it's a one-man sport. We're lonely. It's a lonely journey. But I think him taking that break will definitely set him up for success because your mental is everything.
Absolutely. And also on our Before the Bell card, we have a lot of young, undefeated talent. We have Alexis Espino. We have Amari Jones. We're going to be seeing these guys in action very soon. We talked about the MGM Grand Garden Arena. It's a historic venue. When they make that ring walk, right, this is going to be a lot of their first times walking in this historic venue. What do you think is going to be going on in their head? Obviously, the nerves are going to be a factor for these young fighters.
I think just taking the moment. This is, again, a great venue, and, the ring walk is your entrance into this fight. So make it memorable.
Absolutely. So we're going to get you underway here at Before the Bell. And before we do, we're going to take a look at the main event.
The champion. The young prodigy. Willing to risk it all.
And now Haney's got that fire in his eyes. The dream continues for the 20-year-old sensation.
To forge a legacy.
The king is arrived.
A new challenger has emerged.
JoJo Diaz.
Devin Haney, let's get it.
A fearless southpaw. Willing to give everything for a seat at the top table. Devin Haney and JoJo Diaz Jr. go all in.
And we're going to get underway here at Matchrooms Before the Bell. And to do so, we're going to throw it up to our Master of Ceremonies, David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the MGM Grand here in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. We are live on Dazn for an incredible evening of World Championship Professional Boxing. We begin tonight with a 10-round flyweight affair. Please welcome, as he makes his way into the arena, de la capital, Managua, Nicaragua. Please welcome Carlos Chocoroncito Buitrago.
That was Carlos Buitrago, 32-6-1, a veteran in there, and he's looking to get a big win and an upset here tonight.
And now set to make his ring mark, please welcome Ricardo, El Nino Sandoval.
There you see Ricardo Sandoval, El Nino, just 22 years old, but already has 20 fights under his belt, 19 wins, 1 loss early in his career. Since then, he's been on a 14-fight winning streak. He says he fights for his family and himself, and he's looking to make history in boxing. To do so, he's got to have a big win here tonight. He's on a 6-fight knockout streak. That dates back until 2014, and he's looking to continue that record tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, good evening and welcome to the MGM Grand Arena here in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. We are live on Dazn for an evening of World Championship Professional Boxing, and it's all being brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing. We are never stop, never settle. Bet Online, MGM Resorts, and JD Sports. This first bout is brought to you in association with Golden Boy Promotions, and all of tonight's bouts are sanctioned under the auspices of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. The chairman is Stephen J. Klubeck. The executive director is Mr. Bob Bennett. Introducing your 3 judges scoring this contest from ringside, John McKay, Steve Morrow, and David Sutherland. And at the sound of the bell, your 3rd man in the ring, referee Robert Boyle. And now, ladies and gentlemen, rounds of boxing scheduled in the flyweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the black with gold trim. He scaled 113 pounds. His professional record, 32 wins, 6 defeats, 1 draw. He has 18 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights out of Managua, Nicaragua. Here is the former NABA minimum weight champion and multi-time world title challenger, Carlos Chocorroncito Buitrago. And his opponent across the ring fighting out of the blue corner. He wears the white trunks with the turquoise and pink trim. He scaled 111.8 pounds. His professional record, 19 wins, 1 defeat. He has 14 wins coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Rialto, California, here is the WBC Youth Intercontinental Flyweight Champion, Ricardo El Nino Sandoval.
Okay, we went over the instructions in the dressing room. Anything on his belt line is a legal shot. Anything here is a low blow, okay? Touch him up. Give me a good, clean fight. Scoot back.
And round 1 underway. This is Matchroom's Before the Bell. Karan Bhatia on call, joined alongside Alicia Bumgardner. Carlos Buitrago in the black and gold trunks. Ricardo Sandoval in the white, pink, and blue. And if you look at Carlos Buitrago, he's challenged for the world title many times. He hasn't been able to be successful, but he's gained a lot of experience in doing so. So if you're a fighter and you've gotten to that opportunity so many times, but you haven't been able to get to the mountaintop, what can you change in training? What can you do to try to get a world title?
You know, I think you have to, continue staying committed to what you're doing outside the ring. Sometimes boxing has its ups and downs, but when you have those experience, boxing really plays a big factor in the ring when you have those. So I think his experience is just definitely going to keep him pushing and moving forward in his career.
Buitrago is certainly the more experienced man, has 39 professional fights. Ricardo Sandoval has about half that, 20 fights. Sandoval is just 22 years old, but he made his debut in 2016 at 17 years old. So there's one path: you turn pro early, or you could go to the amateurs and build up that way. Do you think there's pros and cons to either path there?
I would say there's pros and cons. You know, as a 17-year-old coming into a professional sport like boxing, you're fighting against grown men, and that's a different type of power. But again, experience is everything. So if he has the experience and the good sparring to, you know, use against Buitrago, then I think he can be very successful in this fight.
And that will be Ricardo Sandoval's challenge here. He took the one loss early in his career. Since then, 14 wins. He's turned it around, and he's looking to continue that tonight. But he's going to be tested. And it's always good to see young fighters get that opportunity to get the measuring stick and see what they're made of. And that we're going to see a lot of that tonight, starting with this fight.
Yes, I agree. Like you mentioned, him having one loss and having those continuous wins. For myself, I had that loss and continued on in my career, and it just fueled me and was able to fight against veteran fighters to really see where I was in my career.
And this has certainly been a feeling out round, trying to get the distance. We see Buitrago working the jab. This is a nice left hook that landed for Sandoval. Working behind the jab as well. This is a 10-round fight, so both men trying to feel out the distance, get their positioning. 10 seconds left in round one. Some good combinations landed by both men there. It looked like a pretty even round one, a feeling out round, but at the end there, they seemed to open up, and they both landed left hooks at the same time.
No, I agree. Good opening round for the first round, I would say. You know, it's kind of nice to kind of let those combinations go right before the end of the round, so you're kind of letting that other person know, like, hey, I'm here, and I'm going to fight you.
Both men announced their presence toward the end of that round, and we look here at some of the highlights from round one. A lot of these punches were blocked or fell a little short, and that's because they're still getting the positioning and the distance, right?
Exactly, yes. Positioning and distance is everything. You have to establish that as the later rounds go on, so you can really set your punches up.
Ricardo Sandoval, just 22 years old. This is his opportunity to shine. Round two underway. Carlos Buitrago in the black and gold trunks. Ricardo Sandoval in the white, pink, and blue. And Sandoval comes out working the jab. Looks like he's coming out a little bit more aggressive this round.
Yes, it's good to mix that jab up, going to the body, coming back up to the top. You know, you want to keep your opponent guessing.
Both men working behind the jab, looking to set up straight right hands, left hooks. As we mentioned, Carlos Buitrago has fought a who's who in his weight division. He hasn't always come out on top, but he has gained experience. And he's looking to test the young Ricardo Sandoval tonight. In Ricardo Sandoval's last fight against Jay Harris, this was in June of 2021, he ended the fight by 8th round knockout. These were body shots. So you know that he likes to work the body, and that's important for young fighters, right? We see a lot of young fighters maybe just go headhunting and forget about the body.
Exactly. I think body shots are crucial. You know, you break your opponent down little by little. And so when you continue doing that, you know, you can stop your opponent a lot quicker in the shorter rounds.
And Sandoval landed a nice right uppercut there. It looks like he's sitting down more on his punches. It seems like he's getting more comfortable to the distance now. Good combination by Buitrago, but mostly blocked by Sandoval. And there we go. There we see Sandoval working the body. That's what we like to see from young fighters. A lot of good head movement from both sides here.
I would say a lot of great, head movement, still getting out of the way of the punch and, kind of throwing the little feints in there would be great as well.
A lot of feints being used by both men. They both look like they're trying to set up something big. And you do feel like it's a matter of time before someone does land something. Buitrago just missed there with a combination. Again, these are hard shots, but they're mostly missing for Buitrago. Ricardo Sandoval definitely came out in this round two trying to push the action, moving forward more than he was in round one, and I expect to see him continue that as the fight goes on.
Yes, you know, his momentum in this second round is a lot better than the first. And again, establishing that jab is very important. I like that he's keeping his defense tight and his elbows tight, just in case Buitrago tries to come with any body shots.
Certainly, great defense from both men. And let's take a look here at some of the highlights. What do you see here from both men?
I definitely see, you know, good head movement, but, you know, they're both exchanging punches. Once, you know, Sandoval is throwing, Buitrago is definitely throwing back. So I think if Sandoval is able to kind of step back a little bit, make the punches a lot cleaner, it will just make it look, you know, cleaner in the sense of what the judges are looking at. Because you can go back and forth and, you know, the judges may be looking at something different. So landing those cleaner shots are going to be really beneficial for Sandoval.
And Alicia, when you were just starting out and you were taking on an opponent who, let's say, had more fights than you, more experience, what was your mindset going into that?
You know, my mindset would be, you know, do what I do best, but again, be smart about it. Knowing that if I have a great jab, use my jab, utilize my jab, and, you know, work, you know, set something off the jab. So that's what I'm going to do against an experienced fighter. And again, those harder punches come.
Round three underway. Carlos Buitrago in the black and gold trunks. Ricardo Sandoval, El Nino, just 22 years old. He's in the white, blue, and pink. And it sounds like you're saying, remember the basics. Remember the things that you learned in the gym, right? Those are the things that you need to remember in the ring.
Exactly. This is a 10-round fight, so utilizing the basics, the jab, and, you know, the feints and the head movement is going to be, you know, beneficial for Sandoval.
And there's some nice overhand rights landing for Sandoval. He's getting closer and closer with that punch. There's another one that landed in the middle of a good combination.
I love the over right hand followed with the body shot. I think that's great.
He's definitely working the head, working the body. As we mentioned in his last fight out, he knocked out his opponent with the body shot. And we're seeing a really nice variety of punches from Sandoval. Sometimes it's the uppercut, sometimes it's the right to the body, sometimes it's the overhand right to the head. We're seeing a whole different, we're seeing what he has in his tool chest.
Right, it's great to mix it up. It's definitely good to just show different punches. And again, that uppercut landed perfectly on Buitrago.
There's a great uppercut followed by a right hand by Sandoval. He's finding his distance. He's pressuring Buitrago. He's certainly motivated and ready for this opportunity. He knows what it could mean. He dealt with the loss early on in his career, and he's come back from it. In a way, a loss early in a fighter's career, I mean, I feel like there could be something beneficial to that. Yes, you lose the O, you lose that marketing power of saying you're undefeated, and I get that. But at the same time, there's probably a lot to be learned to now take stock, go back to the gym, see what works, see what didn't, right?
There's a lot to learn. You know, when I took my loss, I took it as a blessing in disguise because it taught me so much as the fighter I am today. And so in the opponent that I fought, you know, great fighter, went on to be a world champion. So it definitely just speaks for itself.
Carlos Buitrago throwing combinations, but having less success. It's actually a testament to Ricardo Sandoval's defense. He's had solid defense. He stayed out of the way of those combinations from Buitrago. And Sandoval working the jab nicely, getting through the guard of Buitrago. There's a nice right hand to the body, followed by a left by Sandoval. And as we talked about, invest to that body, right?
Exactly, break the body down. You know, Buitrago is staying in there. That experience is showing. The ring generalship is showing in the ring for Buitrago.
His experience is showing. It does feel like Sandoval is maybe closing the distance a little more, adding more pressure. If you are in the Buitrago camp, any adjustments that you would advise as we look at the highlights here from round 3? I mean, Buitrago is throwing combinations, but they're not necessarily landing flush.
Right. You know, my advice to Buitrago would keep the pressure, but make your shots a lot cleaner. Because again, going back and forth and exchanging punches, you know, you want those harder shots to land. So I see his distance a little better and place those shots. He can be just as successful.
And if you were in the corner of Ricardo Sandoval, we've seen him open up more and more each round. Would you say just keep doing what you're doing?
I would say keep doing what you're doing. Again, maybe add a little more combinations, change the rhythm of your punches. You know, he likes to go to the body, come back up to the head. You know, mix it up just a little more to keep Buitrago guessing.
And it seems like every round we've seen a little bit more of what Ricardo Sandoval has to offer. Round 4 underway. Carlos Buitrago in the black, and Sandoval in the white, blue, and pink. And it looks like Sandoval is going to pick up where he left off in round 3. He's pressuring Buitrago. He's backing him up. He's throwing combinations. Some shots landing, some shots are not, but there are power shots sneaking through.
Exactly. He's, again, staying on top of Buitrago and using that jab and utilizing, moving his head. I think that's perfect.
And you mentioned ring generalship earlier. I mean, if you are a judge and you're seeing these two men, if you look at just the geography in the ring, it's Sandoval and Buitrago is on the back foot backing up. That makes it seem like Sandoval is having more success. Now, on top of that, he's also landing more, so that's helping his case as well. But definitely the judges are probably going to favor the style of Sandoval.
Exactly, I agree. Just his come forward, you know, more punches. He just looks like the cleaner fighter.
Ricardo Sandoval has his opponent up against the ropes here. This is one of the first times that Carlos Buitrago has stopped moving. He's kind of put his back on the ropes, and that seems to play into Sandoval's favor as we pass the halfway point in round 4.
Sandoval's doing really great with his movement and turning Buitrago. I think if he keeps that up, he can put him in a position where he's not going to see a punch coming.
And that seemed to be the case there. Sandoval landed a nice right hand and a good left uppercut, varying his punches, varying the levels at which he's throwing them as well, which is also throwing off Buitrago. There's another right hand to the body by Sandoval. Nice left hook upstairs. And you have to give Buitrago credit here. He's not backing down. He's not slowing down. He's in this fight. He's throwing punches. He's here to challenge Sandoval.
No, exactly. I think, again, just the experience he has had in the ring, you know, he's going to keep coming forward. He's going to make Sandoval work for this win tonight.
Ricardo Sandoval from California. Buitrago representing Nicaragua. As we come to the end of round 4. Another nice combination towards the end of the round for Ricardo Sandoval. And it feels like Ricardo Sandoval is building probably the way that he wanted to. Do you think that that's something they talked about in the gym and they said this is the pace and we're going to increase it every round?
Yeah, I would agree. This next round, I would like to see him just put a little more punches together. Again, Buitrago's not going anywhere. He's going to make him work for this win. And so I think Sandoval should capitalize on this moment and really just show like the pedigree of a fighter that he is in the next coming round.
We saw some great uppercuts landed there for Sandoval in those replays. And that's exactly it, Alicia. He's being tested at 22 years old. That's what we want to see. These are the fights you need to get through if you're a young prospect to get to that next level, to contender status, to challenge for a world title, to one day become a champion. These are the moments and the fights that you need to get through.
I totally agree.
Round 5 underway here at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Absolutely historic. We have a stacked card on Before the Bell, topped by Ammo Williams making his comeback. We last saw him in the ring in March. And later tonight, on the main card on the Zone, we will be headlined by Devin the Dream Haney, putting his lightweight title on the line against JoJo Diaz. Carlos Buitrago in the black and gold trunks here. Ricardo Sandoval in the white, blue, and pink. And so far, 5 rounds in, it's been Ricardo Sandoval's fight. He's been pushing the action, pushing the pace. Seemingly the fresher man, throwing combinations at different angles. And Buitrago has been game, but it doesn't seem like he's had an answer to necessarily change the momentum, change what's happening there in the ring. There's a nice left hook to the body and then up to the head by Sandoval.
I think those body shots are working really well that Sandoval is throwing. Body shots are crucial. And, you know, once those hands come down, you know, the top is open.
Sandoval now throwing right hands to the body, and that's exactly it, right? If you go for the head, you could get... If you want to play the long game, you want to break your opponent down, that is what you do. You invest in the body, the head will fall later. We saw Sandoval do that in his last fight against Jay Harris with the 8th round knockout, and it looks like that's what he's trying to set up here against Carlos Buitrago. Another right hand to the body landed for Sandoval. There's a good left uppercut. And Buitrago is certainly feeling these punches. So we're seeing Buitrago throw, but they're not landing. And obviously Sandoval's defense has a lot to do with that. But is there anything that you could recommend to Carlos Buitrago to have more success? He landed a nice right hand there. And can he sit down on his punches more? What can he do? Can he feint more level changes? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so what I'm seeing here, I think if he uses and utilizes his legs a little more, you know, pushing off his back leg to access that power, you know, he could really, you know, show Sandoval, you know, to give him some respect. But again, use your feints, use your legs. Your legs are important to utilize that power.
And Sandoval is just throwing in these massive right hands. Carlos Buitrago seemingly doesn't see them coming. Most likely he's trying to cover up from the body where Sandoval has been going to work all night. But these big looping right hands are absolutely landing here in round 5.
I think Sandoval's getting pretty comfortable in there, having fun, you know, picking his shots, throwing where he wants to throw.
And that's got to be a good feeling. I'm sure you've had that before in the ring, where you are in there, you're executing your game plan, punches are flowing, your opponent is backing up as we look here at some of the highlights in round 5. I mean, what does that feel like to be a fighter and know that things are going the way that you wanted them to go?
Yeah, you know, you want them to go in the fight. You know, you kind of have fun. It's kind of like a confidence thing, like, okay, I can really do whatever I want to him. And so you kind of just take advantage of the moment. You know, if you want to get those rounds in and the experience against a veteran fighter, you know, this is a perfect fight for Sandoval to do.
Ricardo Sandoval certainly building a lead, most likely on the judges' scorecards. And it's going to be up to Carlos Buitrago to turn it around. At this pace, Carlos Buitrago's team have to know if they continue this way, they're not going to get a decision victory. So they need to try to turn it around. They need to go to plan B, try something else.
I agree. You know, maybe put more pressure on Sandoval, you know, and stop taking unnecessary punches. We see that Sandoval is coming forward and that he is going to be throwing combination punches. So.
And there is, right on cue, a combination from Ricardo Sandoval, who's in the white, pink, and blue trunks. Carlos Buitrago in the black and gold. Ricardo Sandoval, they call him El Nino, just 22 years old. He's from California, but he has the Mexican heritage, and he's certainly fighting the Mexican style, trying to back up his opponent, throw combinations, working the head, working the body. We've seen it all from Ricardo Sandoval so far. The question really will be, can he keep up this pace, and is there anything different that Carlos Buitrago can do?
You know, at this pace, I don't really see too much. I think he's in there just to, you know, again, make Sandoval work, gain that experience. But, you know, the way Sandoval is coming forward, Buitrago is just, hey, I'm here. But I'm going to throw punches back as well.
Buitrago is throwing punches back. If he stops doing that at any point, I'm sure the referee will and should step in, because it has been all Ricardo Sandoval through this fight. There was a nice right hand that landed for Sandoval, and again.
Exactly.
These big looping right hands are getting the attention of Carlos Buitrago.
Good shot.
Good shot by Sandoval to the body, and then a left to the head.
Sandoval is definitely utilizing his legs and his power, really, you know, putting that over right hand in there.
Generating power using his legs. And those were some of the best power shots we've seen so far from Sandoval. He really sat down on those punches. And he's stalking Buitrago. Sandoval is.
You know, as a 22 and hungry like that, you know, I would stay on him just like that.
No breaks needed for Ricardo Sandoval. He landed another big right hand, followed by a great left uppercut to the body. And he's done a phenomenal job of working the body and the head. There's 2 hooks to the body for Sandoval. And then he switches it up, right? Then he goes with an uppercut to the head. So if you're Carlos Buitrago, you really don't know where these punches are coming from, which is part of the issues he's been having here through this fight. 10 seconds left in round 6. And Ricardo Sandoval keeping the pressure up. Left hand, right hand, another left hook. And he finishes it off with a right hand to the body.
That was a great round. I think Sandoval, you know, kind of showed where he can be at and what he's capable of doing. I think if he can come out this next round and, again, apply that pressure, use his legs, those body shots and that over right hand is there. We've seen that.
And we're looking at the replays now here in round 6. It was probably the best round of the fight for Sandoval. We're seeing the right hand land. Nice left hook followed by a right hand there for Sandoval.
I feel like since that over right hand is working, you know, if he's able, you know, he comes with a second punch, but the third one would be even better. So that's what I mean by changing punches. Not just 2 hard ones. How about a hard one and then 2 fast ones, you know, because the rhythm of punches is just differs.
I've heard great fighters talk about that in the past. They said the best way to get a knockout is almost interrupt your own combination, right? Because you're flowing left hand, right hand, and then you interrupt with something else. And that is something your opponent is not expecting, and that can sometimes lead to a knockout.
Exactly.
Round 7 underway here at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. This is Matchrooms Before the Bell. Our main event for Before the Bell will be Ammo Williams in action against Quatavius Cash. And then later tonight on the Zone, Devin the Dream Haney, just 23 years old, putting his WBC lightweight title on the line against JoJo Diaz. We've seen some monumental shifts in the landscape of lightweight, and a large part of that picture will be made clear tonight. And that's the end of the fight. The referee is going to stop it. Ricardo Sandoval gets a 7th round TKO victory. Well-deserved by Ricardo Sandoval. We saw him show his entire arsenal in those 7 rounds.
Exactly, yes. Sandoval definitely showed. He was putting on a boxing clinic, as they say, and just having fun, utilizing his jab, his combinations against a really great, experienced fighter.
And let's look at some of the highlights here. Alicia, tell me, what do you see here?
You know, he's mixing the punches up, and I think, again, Buitrago was just getting too many punches to the face. You know, great call by the ref.
Tremendous stoppage. We've always said in boxing that you'd much rather stop it too early than too late. In that case, it seemed like just right. The referee gave Carlos Buitrago enough time to try to turn around the momentum, to try a plan B. There was no plan B.
There was no plan B.
And if there is no plan B, sometimes a fighter needs to be saved from himself. And that is what the referee did for Carlos Buitrago. A very good stoppage. And another big win for Ricardo Sandoval, who's now going to improve to 20-1. 15 of those wins now by knockout. He continues his knockout streak. He's now won 7 of his last fights by KO. That's not easy to do.
No, not at all. I think this win for Sandoval is actually, good because the experience that Buitrago had, the boxing clinic he put on was amazing. So I think he should definitely give himself some props for this performance.
Ricardo Sandoval, every time he's gotten in a ring since 2018, November, he has won by a knockout. 7 straight knockout wins for the 22-year-old who goes by El Nino. Tremendous performance. And for Carlos Buitrago, he fought a tough fight. He wasn't able to execute on the game plan he wanted. And the referee made the correct stoppage there. And for the official particulars, we're going to throw it up to our MC, David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Robert Hoyle calls a halt to this contest. The official time of the stoppage, 46 seconds of round number 7. Your winner by TKO, Ricardo El Nino Sandoval.
El Nino Sandoval, 22 years old, from California, representing Mexico. He certainly did both California and Mexico proud tonight with that performance.
Exactly.
And we bring you back here, joined by Alicia Bumgardner. So we just saw Ricardo Sandoval get a big win. He did what he wanted in there. He worked combinations. He worked angles. What grade would you give Ricardo Sandoval for that performance?
I would give him an A. I think that, at 22 years old, to have just a boxing clinic like that, I give him an A. I think that's a good fight for him to go back in the gym, continue working hard, and continue building his record.
And let's take a look at some of the highlights here. First round was a feeling out round, getting distance, but after that it was all Ricardo Sandoval. He closed the distance. He threw punches from different angles. He worked the body, he worked the head. Alicia, what do you see here from young Ricardo Sandoval?
Again, Buitrago was open, so Sandoval took advantage of the open shots that he was able. Those body shots were working, the uppercuts were working. Just great performance. The stepping back, throwing the uppercut, utilizing the distance.
Ricardo Sandoval, those big looping right shots certainly were helpful in his victory here. And he did what he wanted to in there. And he was having fun in there. We could sense that, right?
Right, yeah. As a fighter, when you're comfortable in there, you're going to start having fun because your punches are coming off the way you want them to. So you're utilizing whatever you really want to do in there and just enjoying the moment.
For Carlos Buitrago, it's another loss. He's a very experienced fighter. He's tested fighter now. And he's only 29 years old. So in his mind, he doesn't want to just be a measuring stick, I'm sure. I'm sure he wants to get opportunities of his own. If you were to advise Carlos Buitrago, what would be your advice on how he can turn things around in terms of his career here?
I think, go back to the drawing board. You got to reflect yourself. What am I doing wrong? What can I do better? As a fighter, you can always work on something. Is it the pressure? Is it the training camp? Maybe the training camp wasn't a big plus in his, corner. So, is it the trainer? Is it, you have to make those reads, and you as a fighter have to do that.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of action here tonight on Before the Bell. We're going to have 3 more fights, and then our main card, 5 big fights, headlined by Devin Haney and JoJo Diaz. And to learn more about the main event, we're going to look at Chris Lloyd and Darren Barker breaking it down.
Saturday, 4th of December in Las Vegas. Devin Haney defends his WBC Lightweight World Championship against JoJo Diaz, who of course was stripped of his belt in the weight below, moved up to 135, takes on probably the biggest challenge of his career so far, Darren.
Yeah, this is a tough night for Diaz. I've been impressed with Haney. Not the biggest puncher, but so quick, so intelligent, moves so well, very, very accomplished fighter. And you know, riding the crest of the wave, he's enjoying the success, he's enjoying being a champion. It's a tough night for Diaz. But you pointed out something that Haney's not fought southpaw since his amateur days.
I don't think so, according to the records anyway. He did fight a couple of Mexicans that haven't got things listed and the footage isn't there, but I'm pretty sure since 2013 he hasn't fought a southpaw, and he was a 14-year-old amateur boxer. Diaz, in a similar situation, but the opposite way around. He is a lefty himself, of course, but hasn't fought anyone but southpaws for about his last 5 or 6 fights. So it's very hard to look at the data and see where this one maybe won and lost. But Darren's going to get the gloves on, I'm going to put the pads on, and we're going to take a look at some of the keys to victory. So in truth, we don't know how good Devin Haney is against southpaws. We're going to find out in this fight. But we're going to touch on a few of the things that he does really, really well. There are shades of a young Floyd Mayweather in his style, and that's a huge compliment to him. One of the things he does do very well, he covers a huge amount of ground with the 1-2. He's extremely athletic, which a lot of the best fighters in history have been as well. Look at like a standard 1-2. I mean, there's various ways of throwing it. Obviously, a lot of the time people are anchored, the base is set, and they turn it through the shot, nice, and once more. But of course, your feet aren't changing position hugely. Your left foot's coming in slightly. With Haney, he'll sometimes launch into it, and he'll cover the best part of half the ring with a 1-2, won't he?
Absolutely. Good fighters, if you're attacking, they'll move out the way. So you want to commit to a 1-2. You really want to not overreach. You want to bring your feet in, and that's what he does so well. Remembering as well, the right hand is the perfect shot against the southpaw, with their stance being the way it is. Yeah, you're right. He commits to it with lightning speed, brings his feet in, and I guess there's more power than his record suggests. That speed generates power. So we see there's the bog standard 1-2, bang, and then with this one, he steps right in, launches right in with that right hand. It's a beautiful shot, really, really quick. One more time.
Yeah.
And one thing he does, he's so well balanced. His front foot, though, he's committing to the shot. He's always there to exit either side, roll out, step back, but it's a very, very hurtful shot.
Yeah, and he's still a young kid. He's got that elastic limbs as you do when you're young.
So have those again, Chris.
I know, right? Well, they're long gone, unfortunately, for you and for me. So obviously we know there's a lot of Mayweather in Haney's style. I was having a look at Mayweather and Robert Guerrero because I've no doubt that Haney will be watching that, taking inspiration. One of the things that Mayweather did, again, elastic hands, threw that right hand to the body, but he was always rolling and keeping a low exit afterwards and went under Guerrero's left hand. Be expecting to see that if Haney leads to the body.
Definitely, because you want to stay out of the shot. So the right hand to the body, he's very good with it. He measures his opponent, and he also gets his timing and distance with the back foot and the backhand with that right hand.
So touch high with a jab, it goes right to the body, come under that left hand.
And then he'll roll out. Roll out. We worked on it an awful lot when I fought Sergio Martinez. To stay away from Martinez's left hand, we had to roll out. So every single time we threw a right hand, you know, we was kind of over predictable with it because we just wanted to cover both bases. So we'd throw the right hand, roll out. You're in a safe area here. Whether you attack again or you move out of range, you're safe here for a split second.
Gotcha. With JoJo Diaz, a very good body puncher. Be at a very slight disadvantage, certainly in reach, maybe in hand speed. He's still a very quick guy, great balance, but he's going to want to try and slow Devin Haney down for the second half of the fight, and he's going to do that by investing in the body, isn't he?
Yeah. The hardest thing for Diaz in this contest is getting close to Haney. But once he does get close, or if he is able to get close, it's important to, like you say, work the body to slow Haney down. He does it really well. He varies the attack up to the body. So whether it's the left or the right, he likes to finish upstairs. So we'll get the reaction from his opponents. They drop their hands after throwing the body shot, bang, bang, and then he'll whip in the right hand. He does it so well. Classy, intelligent boxing. It's just how quickly and if he can get close to Haney.
Yeah, and of course Haney will sometimes stand Philly shell in that defensive posture when fighters are up close. So, you know, Roberto Duran often said the way I would have beaten Mayweather is I'd have whipped around the side and I'd have come back up the middle, stuff like that. But, you know, you turn off on that angle to try and create the left of the body, stuff like that, which is, again, Montel Griffin did that against James Toney.
He did.
Now, of course, it's not the same because he's southpaw, but those angles are going to be crucial up close
well, too. I mean, similar to, we see Canelo doing it against Caleb Plant. That Philly shell, he was just punishing him with that right to the body. So that's something Diaz will try and do the other way round, is work that body round there whilst he's in the Philly shell, then come back. So bang, bang.
Yeah.
2 good shots. So he'll work the body, variation with the body, then finish on the hooks upstairs, preferably the right hand.
One of the things we know that Devin Haney does to set up the right hand over the top is he'll drop in low, offer you almost a feint with a jab to the body before springing into that right hand. Diaz has got a way to combat this. If he spots that little tell of him just dropping into range, and we saw it against Andrew Canty, a really nice counter that he threw.
Yeah, it's a beautiful left uppercut from the backhand. He'll try and get his... we don't see that often with Haney, but what he does do is change the level. So when you're dipping your knees, your head's going to be in the correct position for your opponent to throw an uppercut. So when he's throwing that, steps in. Look, he has the option to step out of range, but in my opinion, where Haney's so quick, the best off just planting your feet as he commits himself.
So he drops in, bang,
throw the left uppercut.
Yeah,
it could be a really good move for Diaz, a shot that might be successful if he can get Haney to come in.
Yeah, it's going to be quite high level chested because these guys are well schooled amateurs, top level of international experience, and as a pro now, they've got a decent bank of experience too between them.
Absolutely. I think for me, it's about to take more risks than Haney. Haney will try and keep it long, trying to get him on the end of that right hand. For Diaz, he's got to get close to try and find the uppercut, the body shots, and those right hooks.
So a must-win for Devin Haney to keep the big fights with the likes of Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez on track. For JoJo Diaz, a huge opportunity to make a statement in a thriving 135-pound division. December the 4th in Las Vegas, WBC World Lightweight title. Devin Haney and JoJo Diaz.
And we welcome you MGM Grand Garden Arena. Karan Bhatia joined by Alicia Bumgardner. So Alicia, next up we're going to have Amari Jones. He's taking on Timothy Lee. So here's what we know about Amari Jones. He's studying Devin Haney. He's co-promoted by Devin Haney. Devin Haney calls him twin, right? That's how close these guys are. They've sparred together. So let me get your thoughts on that, because obviously it's important to create your own path in boxing. But if you have a mentor like Devin Haney, not that much older necessarily than Amari Jones, but with experience, Haney is a champion, he's headlining here. That's got to be a good thing. Someone to kind of show you the ropes and show you the way.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing to have a mentor, to have guidance in this sport. Again, boxing is a lonely sport. There's a lot of people. You want to kind of weed out the bad people. So for Amari to have Devin, be his twin and just to be able to look up to him, I think that's perfect. I think he's on the right track of having the focus and the guidance that he needs for the sport.
And Amari Jones is going to be taking on Timothy Lee. That bout is going to be next. So Timothy Lee, he had one career loss. He decided to take some time off. I spoke to him yesterday. I said, you took 3 years off of boxing. He said, I did. I had a kid. I turned my life around. I rededicated myself in the gym. And he hasn't lost since that time. So that speaks to what we've been talking about, the importance of taking the time you need, taking the breaks. What do you think about that? Taking a pause from boxing and coming back and regrouping?
Yeah, again, taking a break from boxing is necessary sometimes to, again, regroup yourself. And I think it builds who you are still as a fighter. He never left as a fighter. He's been a fighter. So I think that's great. I think you have to build that hunger. You got to find that hunger again in this sport, because once it dies, it kind of dies out. But again, Timothy came back after being off for 3 years, and so I think he's going to come back even more hungrier.
And we will find that fight next, and to keep it going, we're going to throw it up to our master of ceremonies, David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next contest, 6 rounds in the middleweight division. Please welcome, as he makes his way to the ring from Los Angeles, California, Timothy Spotlight Lee.
There you see Timothy Lee, nickname Spotlight. He says Spotlight means all eyes on me and the world is mine. We mentioned he took a 3-year break from boxing. He worked on himself. He had a kid, and now he's back. He's 2-0 since that time. And he knows he's the underdog for this fight. He prefers it that way. And he's looking to shock Amari Jones tonight.
I think when you also have a son, you know, that's extra motivation for you too. You know, it's just not about you anymore. So that's pretty dope to have that extra motivation.
And now set to make his ring walk, please welcome Amari Jones.
And there is 19 years old, Amari Jones, originally from Oakland, California, now lives in Las Vegas, and we can hear the fans in attendance. They got here early to watch his fight. He's sparred with Devin Haney, his mentor, co-promoted by Devin Haney Promotions. And Amari Jones in his young career, 4 wins, all 4 by knockout. And this is his opportunity to impress on a big stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the MGM Grand Garden Arena here in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA, we are live on Dazn, and we are set to go with our next bout of the evening. And it's all being brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing and Devin Haney of Devin Haney Promotions. We are sponsored by Hennessy. Never stop, never settle. Bet online, MGM Resorts, and JD Sports. Introducing your 3 judges scoring this contest from ringside: Chris Flores, Ricardo Ocasio, and Don Trella. And at the sound of the bell, your 3rd man in the ring, referee Alan Huggins. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 6 rounds of boxing scheduled in the middleweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the red trunks with the silver trim. He scaled 159.4 pounds. His professional record, 5 wins against 1 defeat. He has 4 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights out of Los Angeles, California. Please welcome Timothy Spotlight Lee. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. He wears the white trunks with the... He scaled at the middleweight limit of 160 pounds, bang on. His young professional record thus far perfect, 4 fights, 4 victories, all 4 victories coming by way of knockout. He fights out of the town, originally Oakland, California, and now lives, fights, and trains out of Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. Introducing Amari Jones.
Okay, gentlemen, both received your instructions. Obey my command, protect yourselves at all times. You're high, anything from here is good, you're good. Anything from here up is good. Touch gloves, let's go.
And we get underway here. Our middleweight fight, hometown, Amari Jones taking on Timothy Lee. Round 1 underway. This is Matchroom's Before the Bell. Karan Bhatia on the call, joined by Alicia Bumgardner. Amari Jones in the white and blue trunks, Timothy Lee in the red. And we can hear the crowd support for Amari Jones. Is that something as a fighter you can hear in the ring? You can feel that?
Yeah, I definitely think you and you know, hear the crowd. Sometimes it's kind of blocked out, kind of sounds muffled, but you can definitely hear it.
And the fans showed up early here tonight to support their man, Prince Amari Jones, originally from Oakland, California, now lives in Las Vegas. And this is seemingly a home game for him at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. He's got big aspirations, looking up to his mentor, sparring partner, co-promoter, topping the card tonight against JoJo Diaz. And we mentioned the story of Timothy Lee. He took 1 loss. He took a few years off of boxing to regain himself. He had a kid. and his son, King, will be in attendance tonight. Of course, calls King his motivation. And Amari Jones looks like he's trying to get distance for that jab. Both men feeling each other out, trying to establish their footwork, establish the jab. And just as a size differential, I mean, Amari Jones, certainly the larger man in the ring tonight.
No, I agree. I think he's pretty big for 19. I like that he's establishing his jab. I would like to see him throw his jab just a little more, just to keep, Timothy at bay.
Timothy Lee, 26 years old. Amari Jones, just 19 years old. You can hear the crowd looking for Amari Jones to do something special here tonight. Timothy Lee said he only had a few days' notice for this fight, but he's been training. He was already on weight. And there's a knockdown in round 1 for Amari Jones. Here comes Amari Jones with 10 seconds left in round 1. Already scored. And it looks like he's content with letting the round end there, Amari Jones is, but not a bad way to play up for the home crowd there, right?
Correct. I think, as a 4-0 Amari, I think you still kind of go into the fight still a little cautious. And I think, I think he needs to get a little more comfortable the second round, because now we show that he can hurt him. So, again, great first round, though.
Amari Jones used the jab. There was a right hand to the body. Nice right uppercut. And Timothy Lee, gloves hit the canvas. That is a knockdown. He certainly felt that uppercut. Confidence growing for Amari Jones here after round 1. Round 2 underway here from the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Amari Jones in the white and blue trunks. Timothy Lee in the red trunks. Amari Jones already scored a knockdown in round 1. And this is a 6-round fight, so that's already a huge hole that Timothy Lee finds himself in. But if you notice after the knockdown, Timothy Lee didn't back down, right? He went right at Amari Jones.
Yeah, not at all. I think it kind of made him a little mad, like, hey,
woke him up a little bit.
This is not it.
And that can be a good thing because you're coming out aggressive and changing the pace. But that could also be a bad thing because you could leave yourself open as Amari Jones lands a tremendous combination to the body and the head.
I've seen with Devin Haney, he utilizes his jab very well. And again, you can see Amari using his jab to set the pace and then keep Timothy at bay. Amari Jones flicking that jab to the head of Timothy Lee. And even if that's not necessarily landing, that's blinding Timothy Lee, right? That white glove in his face, and he can't really see what's coming next. Correct. Not every jab has to be hard, and we just have to put it out there as a blinder to say, hey, this right hand may be coming, or the hook. Amari Jones told me, I fight for my family. I want to provide for them and put my younger siblings in a position to have a better life. And he's certainly doing that so far. A couple jabs and a right hand to the body for Amari Jones. There's a left hook around the guard. And it really seems with Amari Jones' size, he's able to stand out of range, but seemingly land his jab from that distance safely. Yes. Amari Jones listed at 6 feet tall, Timothy Lee at 5'9". And you can see the size differential.
playing out. Jones now stalking Lee. Nice right hand landed for Lee. Still in this fight. And as we said, it seems like he uses getting hit as motivation.
Again, I think Timothy does not need to wait on Amari. I think he needs to, again, commit, you know, making sure his hands are up. But, you know, body, when you have a taller fighter like Amari, Timothy, you know, I suggest going to the body. You know, stabbing down to the body is very crucial.
And a big left hand did land for Timothy to the head of Amari. So he's not going down without a fight. He's going to test young Amari Jones. Amari Jones is only 19 years old. He's had 4 professional fights. The experience edge goes to Timothy Lee.
I would agree. I think if Timothy knows that Amari is, you know, still a little, you know, not fragile, but in a sense still coming up.
Still a little green.
Take advantage of that, because as you can see here, you know, Timothy can come forward and still exchange punches with Amari and get Amari off balance because of how tall he is. And if Amari's not sitting on his punches, you know, being off balance it can really lead to, you know, some bad things.
And we mentioned the height difference between both men. Amari Jones 6 feet, Timothy Lee 5'9". So you would like to see Timothy Lee go to the body, try to break down Amari Jones that way, try to slow down his attack, right?
Exactly. You know, that's getting hit right here, like right in the body, you know, can really knock some air out of some people. And again, when you have a tall fighter like that who's, you know, balance isn't the best, you know, you can utilize that body.
Round 3 underway. Amari Jones in the white and blue trunks. Timothy Lee in the red. Timothy Lee definitely had some success in round 2. He's going to look to build off of that. But Amari Jones has been able to work the jab, use the jab to set up left hooks, right hands. But he's got a game challenger in front of him, and this is not going to be an easy night necessarily for Amari Jones. Amari Jones with a combination upstairs. And last fight we saw Ricardo Sandoval really vary his punches to the head, to the body. Would you like to see Amari Jones throw in some body shots in the middle of these combinations?
No, I would. I think that to do so, you know, you got to have a little more better balance. I see that Amari is really heavy-footed on his front leg. So again, if Timothy throws a jab, he's going to get hit, you know. But if he's able to sit down a little more and go to the body and utilize more combinations, I think that'd be.
Amari Jones, 19 years old, fighting in front of his hometown fans. There's definitely added extra pressure.
Body shot.
Nice right hand to the body by Jones. Timothy Lee answers with a combination of his own. And let's get in the mind of Amari Jones. We mentioned the relationship with Devin Haney, co-promoted by Devin Haney Promotions. You know, if you're Amari Jones, Devin Haney is at the top of this card. That's why people are coming to the MGM Grand Garden Arena tonight. There's an expectation on you to follow in his footsteps. What is that like for a young fighter to have those expectations?
I think, you know, it's a little pressured. You know, you're definitely going to have expectations when, you know, Devin Haney is the main card tonight. And again, you know, that's his mentor. So I think, you know, he wants to look good, not just for himself, but for also his team.
Certainly, if Devin Haney decided to co-promote him, he wants to make him feel good about his investment. And he looks like he's turning it on more. Amari Jones is in round 3. Timothy Lee showing a variety of punches. And we're seeing a little defense from Amari Jones as well here. Good head movement. He's avoiding the attack from Timothy Lee. You see right there, dodges 3 or 4 punches.
And right when you miss those shots, you know, you got to come back with something right away. You know, you just don't want to stand there because those, again, unnecessary punches, unnecessary points for the other person.
So this is a 6-round fight. And let's look at some of the highlights from round 3. Alicia, what do you see here from Amari Jones?
You know, I see Amari, you know, again, using his distance. You know, he has a long jab. That range is working for him. You know, using his jab to, you know, keep Timothy at bay is perfect.
And Amari Jones looking to do that. Keep Timothy Lee at bay. He's had success so far. If you are in the Timothy Lee, what would you advise him to do? How can he change the momentum of this fight?
I would suggest that Timothy comes forward. Again, put the pressure. You know, Amari's pace is just way too fast for Timothy. But again, match his pace, match his energy. Make it a fight. I want to see a fight.
Round 4 underway here. Amari Jones in the white and blue trunks. Timothy Lee in the red. And Timothy Lee landed a right hand, followed it up by a combination. But we're seeing the defense of Amari Jones. Avoided a lot of those shots. They're in a clinch. There's a nice left hand that lands for Timothy Lee. The ref action, those were legal blows. And this is a good lesson for the young Amari Jones. You need to protect yourself at all times.
At all times, absolutely.
And it looks like that may have motivated Amari Jones. Landed a right hand of his own. Showing some great defense. Amari Jones is.
I like the momentum so far. I think if Timothy keeps momentum, you know, it keeps Amari sharper to keep pushing forward.
Timothy Lee isn't here to just be an opponent, right? To just be another name for Amari Jones on the way up. As we see Amari Jones landing an uppercut, backing up Timothy Lee. Great right hand to the body for Amari Jones. Uppercut to the body. Working the belt line. And that's what we wanted to see, right? We said, let's throw in some more body shots, and he's doing that.
Exactly. I think when you're able to push yourself, like for Amari, push yourself in this type of fight because the pace is a little slower for Timothy, it's only going to make you a better fighter.
These are the types of fights that you want to see for a 19-year-old to develop. And certainly Amari Jones has his hands full today with Timothy Lee. Nice jab by Jones, setting up the looping right hand. There's a great right uppercut for Amari Jones that hurt Timothy Lee. Left hand goes through. And Amari Jones will switch to southpaw, and he did that right there, and he landed the straight left hand. 30 seconds left in round 4. Amari Jones did get caught up when he thought there was a break in the action. There wasn't. Timothy Lee took advantage of it, but it looks like that may have motivated the young Amari Jones. And we're seeing more of his attack right now. We saw him switch to southpaw. Jones there with another 1-2. As we come to the end of round 4. Interesting round, very interesting round, because Amari Jones thought there was a break in the action. There was not. And Timothy Lee used his experience edge to land some shots. Let's take a look at it right here. The replays from the previous round. That was a massive right hand that landed for Jones. Working the body nicely. Huge right hand. Different punches from different angles.
You know, as a fighter, when I'm fighting, I'm not paying attention at all to the referee. I'm going to continue fighting. So, again, when something like that happens again, the ref is going to stop it. But don't stop punching, because you just never know. You know, you're leaving yourself exposed. You got to protect yourself at all times.
And that was certainly on display for your fight, Alicia, with Terry Harper. You had her out on her feet, and if you watch it in slow-mo, it's like a race from you and the referee to get in there. The referee trying to stop it. You're not going to stop it until the ref does so.
Exactly.
Because anything can happen in boxing. We saw that in the last round when Amari Jones got tagged when he thought there was a break in the action, and there wasn't. Round 5 underway here. Amari Jones in the white and blue trunks. Timothy Lee in the red. And we saw a tremendous, varied display there in round 4 by Amari Jones. Punches from different angles to the body, to the head. Let's see if he can continue that. Now, if you're a young fighter, Amari Jones is only 19 years old. Last round, we saw him switch to southpaw. Is that a good strategy? Or should you focus on doing the best you can in the stance that you're most comfortable?
No, I would say doing the best that you're comfortable in doing. Sometimes in a fight, you may feel comfortable to switch, which is okay. But if something's working, keep at that, stay at that. And again, that was working for Amari.
Amari varied the attack last round, did switch to southpaw. He mentions he does like to do that. Halfway through the 5th round, Amari Jones has won all of his fights by knockout to keep that streak alive. He's going to have to finish Timothy Lee in this or the last round. Did score the knockdown in round 1.
Great
nice uppercut that lands for Amari Jones. He's got Timothy Lee hurt on the ropes. Another uppercut for Jones. Right hand, left hand. This is an absolute flurry for Amari Jones, unanswered by Lee, who looks hurt. Lee trying to hold on. And Jones continuing the pressure. Right uppercut, looping overhand right.
That's
are hard power shots that are landing. The referee is taking a close look. Timothy Lee seemingly doesn't have an answer for the bigger Amari Jones.
I loved how Amari is, he knows that he had Timothy hurt. So again, as a fighter, as a young fighter, he stayed on top of him. And again, he's still doing so.
Amari Jones not letting Timothy Lee off the hook. Timothy Lee covering up, back on the ropes. There was a right hand to the body, a right hand upstairs. As Amari Jones pressures Lee, stalking him. And you know that Amari Jones wanted to get the finish there. He's here in Las Vegas. It's where he's from. He's part of he's co-promoted by Devin Haney Promotions. And he certainly could hear the crowd. People showed up early to watch him fight. Definitely looking for the knockout there, right?
Correct. I think on this next round, I think his corner is, should tell him, press on the gas. You already have him hurt. But be smart about it. When you're 4-0 and you're fresh, you're hungry, you're fighting someone like Timothy Lee, it's important to be smart in there when you are going for a knockout.
And if Amari Jones wants to keep his knockout streak alive, he'll have to do so in the 6th and final round. Timothy Lee in the red trunks, Amari Jones in the white and blue. And Amari Jones scored a knockdown early. He had Timothy Lee hurt and backed up in the 5th round. And we'll see if he can capitalize on that momentum in the 6th and final round. And it looks like Amari Jones is fighting a smart fight now, right? He's landing a jab as he backs up. It seems like he's using Timothy Lee's aggressiveness against him here.
Right. If anything, just always go back to that jab. That jab is safe. It's going to keep you, setting up your other punches.
But if we've seen anything from Amari Jones so far, he isn't going to cruise in this final round. He's going to try to set something up. He's going to try to hurt Lee again. And if we look ahead to Amari Jones and his future, with his size, he's certainly going to be a force in this division.
No, I agree. I think, his size is, is going to be beneficial for him. And when you are that big, it's good to know to use your leg, not to be so heavy on your front leg because you are so tall.
Halfway through the 6th and final round.
I think this is when we see Amari turn it up.
If Amari Jones wants to keep his flawless record, knockout streak alive, he's got 1 minute and 15 seconds to do so. And for Timothy Lee, if he wants to change the momentum in this fight, he knows he must be seemingly down on the scorecards. He's going to need a knockout to win. Likely. Looked like he went for it with that big right hand that missed. And we've been talking a lot about Amari Jones's offense, the varied offense, the long punches, working behind the jab, working the body, working the head. But his defense is also looking great out there. I mean, Timothy Lee has thrown a lot of power shots. Amari Jones has taken a few, but not too many.
Not too many, but it's always good to keep your hands up.
And here comes Amari Jones. And that's the end of the fight. Amari Jones, a 6th round stoppage victory. And the knockout streak for young Amari Jones lives on. He now improves to 5-0, 5 knockouts. And Amari Jones, at just 19 years old, has had an absolutely incredible year. He turned pro in 2021, and he's accomplished 5 wins, all of those by knockout. He was able to put on a display of fans here in attendance, his hometown. And let's take a look at the end of the fight. Jones got in position, teeing off on Lee. And I think that was a good stoppage by the referee.
Great stoppage.
You can see the frustration there on Timothy Lee's face, but that was the right call. He was getting backed up there. Most likely down on all of the judges' scorecards. And he got hurt there in round 6. Amari Jones finished the job. And a tremendous first year of boxing for Amari Jones. 5-0, all by knockout. Amari Jones said, "My goals in the sport are to be world champion." He said his goals are to be the best, and he knows that he one day will be. He's on his way so far, 5 wins, all by knockout. And to get the official particulars, let's throw it up. David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Alan Huggins calls a halt to this contest. The official time of the stoppage, 2 minutes and 40 seconds of round number 6. Your winner by TKO, he's still undefeated, Amari Jones.
Prince Amari Jones, just 19 years old. Worked the body, worked the head, threw tremendous punches to Timothy Lee, who was overmatched tonight. Landed a knockdown and eventually got the 6th round stoppage. How would you rate Amari Jones's performance, Alicia?
I think it was a great performance. Being 4-0 and still building at this stage in his career, it's a good feeling to continue building. So for him, I would give him
a B+. He did take some punishment in there. There was one moment where the referee did not break up the fight. They were tangled up, and Timothy Lee took advantage of that. And that's something that Amari Jones can absolutely work on. Let's look at some of the highlights here of the fight. Of course, in round 1, there was the huge right uppercut landed. Down went Timothy Lee. That was a knockdown scored for Amari Jones. And the tremendous, varied attack from Jones. Working the body, working the head. What do you see?
I think, again, that uppercut had been working the whole time. So I love that he kept going back to that punch. When it's working, keep throwing it.
At points in the fight, we saw Amari Jones switch to southpaw, but he was in the orthodox stance when he got the eventual stoppage win. A big win for young Amari Jones as he continues on in his career. So Timothy Lee, he was tough. When he got knocked down in round 1, he came right back out and charged at Amari Jones. He seemingly, most likely, was not happy with that stoppage. He looked a little bit annoyed. What would be your advice to Timothy Lee going forward?
Going forward, never leave it in the judges' hands. We know that when you're in a fight, make it a fight. If you want to be in there, show that you want to be in there, but be smart about it again. But, take advantage. I think sometimes they kind of play it safe, like we were saying, and, just go out there and enjoy the fight, but make it believable that you want to win.
The bottom line is Amari Jones gets a tremendous win, improves to 5-0, 5 knockouts. That's all in 2021. That's one way to start a career. Tonight, of course, we are headlined by Devin Haney versus JoJo Diaz. And we're going to get you ready for that. Let's look into Devin Haney.
I'm feeling so ready. Camp has been going great. I'm feeling strong, fast, smart. December 4th is definitely going to be fireworks.
What a fight we have here. December 4th, MGM Grand, live on Dazn. Devin Haney will defend his WBC World Lightweight Championship against the former 2-weight world champion JoJo Diaz.
I want to make the biggest fights happen. I want to become an undisputed lightweight champion. I got to get through JoJo Diaz. On paper, he is my toughest opponent, but I expect to go in there and make the fight easy, make it an easy night.
And a nice counter right. San Diego tries to hold on, but instead he goes down. Haney firing on all cylinders now.
I can't say where JoJo is most dangerous. I got to get in there and see for myself.
Big shot to the body there from JoJo Diaz.
He's shown rugged. He's shown that he was, strong. He's durable. He's been cut. He's been hurt. But it's different when you get in there with Devin Haney, and I will show him that the best things that you do in the ring, I will take away from you. I will handicap his best attributes. Knockouts are the best way to win in boxing. I'm gonna go in there, stick to the game plan. If it comes, hopefully. If it doesn't, then that's okay. But I want to win in devastating fashion.
Haney's got that fire in his eyes. A one-hitter quitter. Devin Haney, a walk-off home run. The dream continues for the 20-year-old sensation.
I'm a 2012 Olympian. I've fought all these tough fighters already, so it's not that I'm just the type of fighter that's just gonna bang it out. I'm not just gonna throw punches just to throw punches. I'm gonna break your ass down.
Okay, when you say experience,
I'm gonna break your ass down, bro. I'm gonna your ass alive. So just be ready, bro.
Sounds good.
So just be ready.
But
just be ready.
No, I really want to ask you a real question. When you say experience, who have you fought like me that has a style similar to me?
Who have you fought that's like me?
I'm not saying experience. You're the one saying experience.
He could say he got more experience or whatever the case may be, but at the end of the day, I feel like I can beat anybody right now. Does he have more experience than Linares? That's what Linares came in with, banking on his experience. And from the way that the fight went, I beat him 9 straight rounds, clearly easy. So, it showed who had the experience in the ring. Getting hurt is part of the sport. It all comes with the territory. Any of the fighters that's going in the Hall of Fame have been hurt. You can't name one that haven't been hurt. I took it on the chin, and I'm back at it. And December 4th, you'll see an even better Devin Haney, because if he hurt me one time the whole fight, and that's all they can say, one round, then imagine when I learn from that and I get better from that. Imagine the fighter that I am now.
Bro, I'm gonna take you to places that you never been. You better hope that you got a good referee, because
don't make excuses.
Don't
make excuses now. Don't make excuses now.
I'm not making no excuses. Okay. I'm coming ready, bro.
Listen,
I'm coming ready.
I'm not worried about no referee.
Just be ready, bro. Just be ready. 'Cause I'm gonna fuck you up.
I'm not really big on that. Oh, I'm looked into his eyes. I saw fear. I'm not really into that. At the end of the day, he gonna go in there and he's preparing his best for me. I'm preparing my best for him. I'm focused. I'm ready. And whatever JoJo Diaz brings to the table, I'm gonna be ready for it, and I will use it against him.
If he wants to, try to box, I'm just gonna hunt his ass down. If he wants to come and bang, then I'm just gonna bang it out as well. Whatever he wants to bring to the table, I'm gonna bring it.
I'm getting closer and closer to taking over the lightweight division. I'm ready for it.
And we welcome you back here to the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Hearn joined by Alicia Bumgardner. So we just saw Devin the Dream Haney. We know tonight he's putting his WBC lightweight title on the line against JoJo Diaz. So how did we get here? JoJo Diaz originally was supposed to fight Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia had a hand injury. Devin Haney stepped in. What do you think about that in terms of seizing your opportunities, right? In boxing, it's all about the important big moments, and how important is it to seize those opportunities when you have them?
Yes, it's very important. Devin Haney stepped up as a fighter. That shows confidence. That shows the pedigree of a fighter that he is. And I think that he knows exactly what he's doing. So, come tonight, he's definitely just going to show why he stepped up and why he's going to continue being undefeated.
And we saw Devin Haney's protege, Amari Jones, get the knockout win. He knocked down his opponent early. He finished the job. So certainly Devin Haney was an interested observer and happy to see that for a fighter that he's promoting.
Right.
When you have a young fighter that's looking up to you and you see them do well, does that motivate you as a fighter yourself?
It does, because, again, you're mentoring this young fighter coming up in the game. And so it's just nice to see. And, as a fighter, you want them to be better. So you're going to tell him, hey, you did this really good. You got to work on this. And so, again, that's what's important, to have a mentor like Devin Haney in Amari's corner.
Certainly that conversation, Amari Jones will be looking forward to it after what he did in there. And when he goes speak to Devin Haney, I'm sure it's going to be congratulations from Devin Haney to Amari Jones. Now, Amari Jones, only 19 years old. Mm-hmm. Next up, we have another young fighter, 21 years old, Alexis Espino. He's had success early in his career, but as everyone in boxing and the world has had, COVID-19, lockdown, these type of things not only affect sports and boxing, but they can delay boxing matches, and Alexis Espino has had to deal with that. So how difficult would that be for a fighter, a young fighter starting in their career, and they have to deal with postponed fights and cancellations?
It sucks. I was actually a part of that whole experience, COVID being off for almost a year and a half. So it definitely is challenging to still keep that momentum going, staying in the gym, staying busy, and staying ready.
And we're going to take a look at some programming coming up here on DAZN.
The DAZN Boxing Show, live. We are taking the show on the road.
11 shows, 7 weeks, 6 different countries.
The biggest names on the biggest stage.
I like challenge, that kind of adrenaline.
Wherever, whenever.
Time to smash it.
If any point in front of me, I'll terminate.
Let's make matches. We show the love to everyone.
We welcome you back to the MGM Grand Garden Arena, an absolutely historic venue. Fighters dream of fighting here, and that is certainly the case for Devin Haney. He fought here once before as a 17-year-old, but that was an undercard, a 4-round fight. Tonight, he's the main event. Those are two totally different things, right? There's a lot more pressure as the main event headliner. People bought tickets to watch you fight.
Right, a lot of pressure, but I think that's exciting as a fighter, being able to fight here at 17. Now you're headlining the card. I think that's awesome, and so that should tell you, the pedigree of who Devin Haney is and where he got to today.
But before that, we have a lot more action here on Matchrooms Before the Bell. And to keep it going, we're going to throw it to our Master of Ceremonies, David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the MGM Grand Garden Arena, we are set to go an 8-round super middleweight affair. Please welcome, as he enters the arena, the Cobra, Rodolfo Gomez Jr.
There is Rodolfo Gomez Jr., a.k.a. the Cobra. He's tall for the weight class, stands 6'3", 32 years old. We saw him go the distance with top prospect Diego Pacheco. And you know that Gomez Jr. is looking to play spoiler tonight against the red-hot Alexis Espino.
And now, please welcome the undefeated Alexis Macizo Espino.
Espino, 21 years old, fighting at home here in Las Vegas, Nevada, trained by Robert Garcia. By his own admission, he didn't have much of an amateur background, says he's learning on the job, but he's run his record up to 9-0, looking to go to 10-0 tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the MGM Grand Garden Arena here in Las Vegas, Nevada, live on Dazn, we are set to go with a special super middleweight attraction. It's all being brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing. We're sponsored by Hennessy, Never Stop, Never Settle, Bet Online, MGM Resorts, and JD Sports. Introducing your 3 judges scoring this contest from ringside: Eric Cheek, Lisa Jampa, and David Sutherland. And at the sound of the bell, your third man in the ring, referee Celestino Ruiz. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 8 rounds of boxing scheduled in the super middleweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the blue trunks with the silver trim. He's scaled the super middleweight limit of 168 pounds, bang on. Record, 14 wins, 5 defeats, 1 draw, with 10 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights out of Laredo, Texas. Here is Rodolfo Cobra Gomez Jr. Gomez Jr. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. He wears blue trunks with silver trim. He scaled 167.4 pounds. His professional record, thus far perfect. 9 fights, 9 victories, 6 of them coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada, USA, here is the talented young fast-rising undefeated prospect, Alexis Macizo Espino.
Okay, you're good here. You're here. Your belt lines are good. Gentlemen, I gave you both your instruction in the dressing room. I expect a clean, fair fight, start to finish, and protect yourself throughout time. Good luck. Touch up.
21-year-old Alexis Espino. He saw what 19-year-old Amari Jones did just a fight before. You know that he's also looking to have a good performance here. This is Matchroom's Before the Bell. Karan Bhatia on the call, joined by Alicia Bumgardner. And you see the size advantage there for Gomez Jr., listed at 6'3". Espino 6'1". And it looks like, even though it's 2 inches, it looks like Gomez is fighting as the taller fighter.
Definitely standing straight up.
Alexis Espino, undefeated, 9 wins, 6 by knockout. And this is his opportunity to make a splash. And Gomez Jr. with some nice body work to start round 1. Alexis Espino taking some tools out of the toolbox. Showing a varied attack there. Working the jab nicely. Snapping the head back of Gomez Jr. Minute 30 left in our opening round. Gomez Jr. certainly using his length. He's working behind the jab, and that's what you want to see from the taller fighter.
No, I agree. I think him using his jab is definitely, working for him. Again, I would like Espino to use his jab just as much. And again, use those legs as well. You don't want to stand straight up either because Gomez is a lot taller.
Espino went for a left hook, and Gomez answered with a nice combination. Very evenly matched. Both men working behind, ab, setting up nations. In that one power shot, can feel.
It is.
Big right, Espino have been the power talking. That might be a important that was so get the judges in there.
I think Espino is taking his time out the filling out. But again, that right hand's definitely going to be showing more.
Let's take a look at some of the highlights from round 1. Alicia, what do you see here?
I see Gomez, kind of showing his, that he's here to stay in round 1. He's using his jab. But again, Espino's, needed to see. We wanted to see something. He gave us that towards the end of the round. So again, round 2's coming up. I think Espino is ready to come forward again.
Alexis Espino landed the huge right hand at the end of round 1. He's going to look to capitalize off of that. As we get underway here for round 2, Alexis Espino in the dark blue and silver. Gomez Jr. in the blue and silver, not as dark. Of your screen. And both men motivated, both men looking to set up combinations, but in round 1, Espino landed the big looping right hand that got Gomez Jr.'s attention. So when you're a fighter and you land that big shot, right, the one that you were setting up, how do you do that again in round 2? What do you try to emulate from what you did in the round previously?
I'm gonna continue using my jab. The jab sets everything up. It's crucial to really use that jab because the right hand comes off so smoothly. So again, I think use that jab, go back to that punch. We know it's there.
And Espino certainly got the attention of Gomez Jr. in round 1. We mentioned the disruption for Espino due to the global pandemic, had fights canceled, pushed back. He admits he doesn't have a lot of amateur experience. He's getting experience on the job, and he's going to be tested here by Rodolfo Gomez Jr. Certainly not here as the opponent. The taller man looks like he knows how to use his size, work behind the jab. And there Gomez Jr. lands a nice left hook to the body end again, followed up by a right hand. Gomez Jr. goes by the Cobra, 32 years old, 20 pro fights. He's had more experience in the ring. And the young Alexis Espino, 21 years old, has his hands full tonight. He was able to capitalize on the big right hand in round one.
You know, from Espino, I would like to see him put more than one punch together. I think, you know, Gomez is moving at a slower pace, so if Espino is able to put 3 punches together, I think we could really see something to really see how durable Gomez is.
And that might be easier said than done because Alexis Espino ate a right hand and then another one. And it's been Gomez Jr., the busier man in round two.
Yeah, we can't be mad at that. I think Gomez is definitely showing that he belongs in there and using his height to his advantage.
Gomez Jr. felt like he was hit in the back, complained to the referee. There was another left hook that landed to the side or back by Alexis Espino, but we talked about this earlier. If you're a fighter, it's not your job to referee the fight, right? You need to focus on fighting and not getting the referee's attention.
No, exactly. You know, anything can happen in there, and again, you're in there to fight. So the referee is invisible to me when I'm in there.
And we see some of the round. Gomez Jr. felt like the busier man. There was a massive right hand that landed. So it's almost like he got him back for the one he took in round one.
Right.
Gomez Jr. there.
I think, you know, Gomez is definitely gaining some confidence here. You know, he's standing up in the corner now. I think he's showing, you know, what he can do in this next round.
Alexis Espino, trained by Robert Garcia. By his own admission, he says, I go in there and win it. It might not always be pretty, but I will throw everything with bad intentions. And that seems to be what we've seen so far. Round three underway. Alexis Espino on the right of your screen in the dark blue and silver trunks. Gomez Jr. in the blue and silver, wearing the red gloves. And so, if you are Alexis Espino, you took that huge right hand in round two. It felt like Gomez was getting into a rhythm there in round two. What can you do to change the momentum in round three?
You know, again, I think if we incorporate some feints in there, you know, keep Gomez guessing. And, you know, double up on the jab. You know, I would like to see him double up on the jab, throw more than one punch. Again, it would just make him just better in the round, just so we can see what Gomez is going to come back with.
Nice right hand landed for Espino. It's definitely been a very measured fight. Both men fighting very carefully, setting up their shots. This hasn't been like by any means.
Not at all.
Two motivated men trying to get the distance. A nice right hand to the body by Espino.
I think Espino is waiting to, you know, land that big shot. But again, Gomez is using his jab and, you know, just putting his jab out there and really, you know, gaining points as well doing that.
Both men utilizing the jab, getting through the guard. Right hand landed there for Gomez Jr. and he comes back with it. It does seem like that looping right hand is giving Espino trouble so far in this fight. And if you look at both men here squaring up, Gomez Jr. has his gloves fairly high, or at least when punches are coming his way. It seems like Espino's gloves are a little bit lower, maybe more in an attack position. What do you think about each man's stance and posture?
Yeah, I think for Espino, you know, his posture is a little awkward just because he is dropping his hands a little more. Gomez is staying ready. You know, his hands are up. And, you know, just in case a punch comes, he's able to block it.
And there was a punch, a big right hand by Espino. Gomez taps his chest as to say, bring it on. Usually when a fighter does that, they were hurt, right?
You know, sometimes.
That was a very competitive round 3. It really could have gone either way on the judges' scorecard. Espino had success late, but both men worked behind the jab. Both men tried to set up some power shots. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. And Alicia, tell us what you see here.
You know, I see Espino, you know, he's using that jab, but again, you know, he still kind of leaves himself exposed. So, you know, roll under that punch to get out of the way because something's coming back.
Nice short right hand there for Gomez Jr. And Espino with a beautiful left and right hand.
Just like that, you know, he came out with his, you know, chin open. And so, again, you want to make sure that chin's tucked and your hands are up because those small punches can get in and, you know, really cost.
Certainly. Rodolfo Gomez Jr. Last time we saw him, February of this year, took a decision loss against Diego Pacheco. You know he's hungry for a win. Wants to even out his 2021. But to do so, he's got young and hungry Alexis Espino. 9-0, looking to get to 10-0. Alexis Espino, already 3 wins in 2021. Going for a 4th. There's a nice left hook to the body by Espino.
You know, as I'm watching Espino, you know, he'll throw his jab and then wait, you know, maybe like 10 seconds to throw another. I think he needs to be continuous with his punches and just put his punches together.
You'd like to see more combinations from Espino. Not just 1 and 2 punches, but 3, 4, and 5 punch combinations.
Exactly. More punches. Only because, you know, it will show what the other fighter is going to bring. And again, confidence after each round. So if I know that I landed, you know, these combinations and I seen a punch that was open, I'm going to take it. I'm going to go back to that.
And not to speculate, but what would be the reason Alexis Espino is not doing that? Could that be a fatigue thing? Could that be, you know, is that just not his style? Maybe not something he learned in the gym? What's the reason he wouldn't throw more combinations?
In a sense, fatigue kind of seems that could maybe be an option. Or, you know, the height advantage could, you know, really be messing with him mentally. But again, going underneath those punches.
Fighter punching up, you do lose power on your shots, but it does seem like Espino is having success when he backs up Gomez Jr. That's where Espino wants to be. Stalking Gomez Jr. Nice right hook, right hand to the body, left uppercut by Espino. Gomez Jr. glanced over at the referee to complain. 30 seconds to go in round 4. And Alexis Espino, this is the positioning that he likes. He's working well when he has Gomez Jr. backed up against the ropes or in the corner as he is now.
You know, if I have someone in the corner, I'm going to tee off on you for sure. So, you know, I think that's probably where he wants Gomez to feel a little more comfortable to throw those punches. But again, he has to keep utilizing that jab and backing him up.
And that's the question. If you're Gomez Jr., why are you allowing yourself to... You're the taller man, you're the longer man. So you would think that your game plan would be to work from distance, throw your jab, and set up combinations.
Right, I agree. You know, Gomez should just stay to what he's been doing. Stay in the middle of the ring, use his height to his advantage. Don't get against the ropes, because that's when Espino is definitely going to come forward.
There was that body shot. Gomez Jr. felt that it was low. That's why he looked at the referee to complain. The referee allowed it. He felt like it was on the belt line. And you see them in the corner. They're kind of hitting Gomez Jr. with the towel. What do you think they're trying to say there?
Go out there and win.
Trying to motivate their man in this 5th round. Rodolfo Gomez Jr. on the left of your screen in the red gloves. Alexis Espino in the white gloves. Both men trying to establish a moment in this fight, right? A memorable moment. We've seen them each land big right hands. We've seen Espino back up Gomez Jr. at times, but there hasn't been anything necessarily conclusive, anything to steal the show just yet.
You know, as Gomez, you know, you should feel that rope on your back leg to move out and get right back in the center. This is the most we've seen Espino, you know, throw punches in this round.
And Espino landing combinations to the head. And we were talking about fatigue setting in. Is it possible that fatigue is setting in for Gomez Jr. because he's not moving the way he was earlier in the fight? He's okay with getting backed up to the ropes, to the corner, and that's playing into Espino's game plan.
Exactly, yeah. We definitely see how that changed just in this round now. You know, fatigue can set in real quick. And so I'm kind of seeing that as he's going to corner. He's not really in the middle of the ring anymore.
And Gomez did go the distance versus Diego Pacheco in a loss earlier this year. A nice right hand snuck in there for Gomez Jr. Nods his head as if to say, all right, let's fight. Nice jab there by Espino, stopping the momentum of Gomez.
Not a whole lot of head move that I would like to see a little more of that from both fighters.
Nice right hand there landed for Espino. A lot of these punches from both men are quick, short punches on the inside that are landing. Big right hand for Alexis Espino in round 6. And again, check that, round 5. And Alexis Espino has been sneaking in these big right hands.
I agree.
Certainly getting the attention of Gomez Jr. There's a left hook for Espino.
I would say this is a perfectly even match between two fighters.
Both men have had success. Both men have traded power shots. Let's look back here at round 5. Espino pressuring Gomez Jr. Massive right hand landed for Gomez Jr. Espino said, bring it on. There was a nice short right hand for Espino. So if you're Alexis Espino, there's 3 rounds left in this fight. You probably don't want to keep this pace because this could go either way for the judges' scorecards.
Exactly. I think if he's able to push Gomez back and again show the judges he's in charge, you know, this can definitely go his decision.
Round 6 underway. Alexis Espino in the white gloves. Rodolfo Gomez Jr. in the red. And as we've been talking about, this could be anyone's fight right now.
I agree.
And both men hungry for a win here. Gomez Jr. last time out took the decision loss to Diego Pacheco. You know he's hungry for a win. And for Alexis Espino, his undefeated record on the line. He's 9-0.
I still like that Gomez is still using his jab. Again, you know, Espino's putting his punches together a little better this round.
And you mentioned head movement. You'd like to see head movement from both guys?
From both fighters, yes. You know, just you don't have to take unnecessary punches. And again, when you move your head, you're in position to throw another punch.
So if they went back to the gym, you want them to work on setting up different punches at varied angles.
Absolutely.
Not just throwing from your normal stance.
Exactly.
Are you going to be available to train these guys?
I definitely can.
If you watch back this fight, Alicia Bumgardner, give her a call. Nice combination from Gomez Jr. backing up Espino. There's been so many ebbs and flows, and it seems like one man gets slightly fatigued, he gets backed up. Mm-hmm. And then the other man gets slightly fatigued, and he gets backed up. And it looks like that's playing out here in real time.
Right. I think, you know, Gomez is making the fight look a lot closer. I think if he was utilizing his jab again at a distance, you know, he's going to keep, you know, Espino at bay. But right now, you know, it's looking like it's a dogfight in a sense because they're both throwing punches.
There was a nice right hand to the body that landed for Espino. Followed it up by another combination. Gomez Jr. using the uppercut to set up the left hook. Big right hand there for Gomez that got through. But didn't seem to affect Espino too much. 10 seconds left in round 6. Good left hook for Gomez. And that's the end of round 6. 2 more rounds to go before our main event on Before the Bell. We will be seeing 25-year-old Ammo Williams. Took a break from boxing to deal with mental health. He's back. He's ready to go. He'll be taking on Tough Cash. That is our main event for Before the Bell. And of course, later tonight on the Zone, Devin Haney versus JoJo Diaz. Montana Love also in action. Jessica McCaskill puts her status as the undisputed welterweight champion on the line against Candy Wyatt. Heavyweight action tonight. Filip Hrgovic takes on undefeated Amir Akhmatovic. And another young fighter to start off the Zone card tonight, Mark Castro, just 22 years old, undefeated. Right now it's round 7. Undefeated and young Alexis Espino in the white gloves. Tough Rodolfo Gomez Jr. in the red gloves. It's been a fight of ebbs and flows. Both men having success. Both men backing each other up at times. Seemingly, we don't know the judges' scorecards, but seemingly the fight is up for grabs in the last 2 rounds.
I would agree. Punches landed, more aggressiveness. You know, what are they looking at for this fight?
And it's really a battle of who wants it more now. The crowd in favor of Espino. He's from Las Vegas. Espino said, I fight, I don't make it pretty, but I get the win.
I can agree to that statement.
Now, would you like to see Espino open up more, or it does seem like Gomez is having a lot of success with these counter shots, especially the uppercut. Would you suggest Espino opens up more, or should he keep this pace?
I would like, again, to see him open up more. I think there's more in his tank. And, again, just let your punches go.
Here comes Gomez Jr. Combination to the head, followed by an uppercut to the body.
Step back, step back. Excellent on the head, buttercut. Back.
Less than 1:30 left in round 7, this 8-round fight. A lot is going to come down to how these last 4.5 minutes play out. Both men trading in the inside. Espino did snap the neck back of Gomez.
I would say both fighters are pretty fatigued in this round.
The fatigue is absolutely showing. Both men definitely more sluggish than they were. Big left uppercut lands for Espino. That got the attention. Will that be enough to turn around the momentum in this fight? It's been close to a stalemate so far. With that huge uppercut for Espino certainly landed. So we know it's a close fight.
It's very close.
The judges could have it either way.
I agree. I think this next round can definitely show us who wants it more, because again, Espino landed that great punch.
And let's take a look at the highlights here from the last round.
As you see in that shot, Espino was able to use his distance. He didn't smother his punch with that one, which was great because it landed so clean.
Espino gave himself room to work.
Exactly.
And let's see if he can capitalize off of that as we go to the 8th and final round. It's been a back and forth affair. Round 8, the final round in the fight underway. Alexis Espino, his undefeated record on the line. He's in the white trunks. Rodolfo Gomez Jr. in the red. Gomez Jr. tasted defeat earlier this year, looking to turn it around. And Gomez Jr. comes out more aggressive in the beginning of round 8. Two very evenly matched fighters here.
I agree. Both trading punches. Both going to the body. Both leaning on each other. We know they're both tired.
And how does that change your game plan? If you're someone that boxes and moves, if fatigue sets in and you're landing a few punches and then you're kind of leaning on the guy like we're seeing here, how does that change your strategy?
You know, again, so leaning on you, I'm going to use, that to as an advantage. I'm going to work on my body shots right there on the inside and, use my weight as an advantage too, to lean on you.
And you mentioned a big key for Espino. Even though they're tangled up on the inside, you'd like to see him take half a step back, give himself some room to land a power shot.
Yes, take a step back. The punch that he landed was very clean, but he was in position, good position. He was balanced to do so.
That will be the key for the final 90 seconds of this fight. You can see fatigue setting in there for both men. Punches not as sharp as they were earlier in the fight. It's a battle of will. They can sense how close it is. Overhand right lands for Espino. Gomez complains to the ref. There's another. And again. Gomez Jr. taps his chest as to say, come on. 30 seconds left. Who wants it more?
I'm tired for them.
And here comes Alexis Espino, landing the right uppercut. Got the attention of Gomez Jr. Another combination for Espino. And that's the end of a fight. Spirited battle between both men, both motivated. Lots of ebbs and flows. Do you feel like you could clearly say there was a definitive winner?
It just depends. I think, we have to give credit where credit's due for Gomez for, still boxing and utilizing his jab. But then again, Espino put his punches together towards the end. But is that going to be enough, I think if he closed like that every round, it would have been different. But again, we know those champions, the last 3 rounds are, most important rounds as well.
Being a judge for this fight, certainly a very tough assignment. A lot of fighting on the inside, ebbs and flows. We mentioned what's on the line for both fighters. Alexis Espino, currently undefeated, looking for his 10th win. Gomez Jr. took a long year. Before that, he was on a 3-fight winning streak. He wants to turn it around. If you look at the body language here, it looks like Espino looks happy. He looks like he felt like he did what he wanted to. Gomez Jr. looks a little bit more disappointed in his work there. But it all depends on the 3 judges at ringside. Gomez Jr.'s last fight against Pacheco was not a close one. He lost 79-73 on all scorecards. This fight seemingly much closer. And let's get the official decision. Let's throw it up to David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 8 rounds of action here at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, we go to the judges' score totals. Eric Cheek, 77-75, Rodolfo Gomez Jr. Lisa Jampa and David Sutherland both score this bout. 76-76, we have a majority draw.
Well, if anything, Alicia, I feel like that says that we know what we're looking at, because we said that was a close fight.
Exactly.
1 scorecard, 77-75 for Gomez Jr. 2 scorecards, 76. So let me ask you, are you okay with the 77-75 for Gomez Jr.?
I am. I think, the decision, he came on, the first few rounds, and then, Espino came on to the second half. So, I can agree. I can agree with that.
So Alexis Espino, only 21 years old. His perfect record of 9-0 now has a small blemish, 9-0-1. Like we said, only 21 years old. By his own admission, he doesn't have much amateur experience. So where can he go from here? What do you think he can learn from that fight?
I think honestly he can learn a lot. I think learn how to finish, you know, that last 30 seconds of a round to close it out, so we're not leaving anything in the judge's hands that says, hey, I won that round. So I think just closing better. And again, put more punches together. You know, 1s and 2s, you know, they're good, but it's not better than 1, 2, and 3.
And let's take a look here at some of the highlights from the fight, the draw. Both men had moments. We saw Gomez Jr. with the big right hand land there. There were moments where Espino was backing up Gomez Jr., and in those moments he did seem like he was having success. When you pointed out when he took half a step back and allowed some room to land a power shot. Right, and with this fight, you won't know that until you do it. And so, you know, he can use that and use that in sparring as well to help him. And let's take a look at the back half of the fight here. Beautiful uppercut landed for Espino. And to your point, those were the moments that were scoring, and you'd like to see more of those, more consistently throughout the fight for Espino if he wants to get a win next time out. I said exactly. You know, Gomez was wide open. You know, he was exposed right there. So, again, also capitalizing on those moments, seeing, okay, I have him hurt, he's open, and just taking advantage. So Gomez Jr. started this year with a loss to Diego Pacheco. No shame in that. Diego Pacheco is a tremendous talent. Now he gets a draw. So he's building. Anything that he can take from this draw to move forward in his career? Yeah, you know, you can take a lot. You know, every fight, you're going to learn something. And again, this fight, I think, will show him, you know, just press on the gas a little more. Don't play it safe in there. Be smart about it, but also utilize that distance. Again, he showed that he can throw clean punches. You got to learn how to use your feet better. Next up, we're going to have Ammo Williams. We've had a lot of young, undefeated fighters. Ammo Williams is one of them. The last time we saw him in the boxing ring was in March, and we're looking forward to seeing him as our main event here at Before the Bell. Before that, we're going to take a look at my conversation with him earlier this week to talk about his mental health struggles and how he's bounced back. I'm Karan Bhatia, speaking with Ammo Williams. Ammo, it's good to see you back. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. To be back in the mecca of boxing, it's a dream come true for any boxer, you know, so I'm doing great, man. I'm happy to be here.
And this is unique. We're here in the MGM Grand Garden Arena. It's usually packed with fans. It's going to be packed with fans on fight night, tomorrow night. But right now, it's kind of empty and actually sets the scene a little bit for what we're chatting about, right? The contemplative nature, looking back and reflecting. And you've had a very interesting year. You started your career in 2019. You were rolling. 2020, you're rolling. 2021, you get a big win. And then you announced on social media that you were taking some time for your mental health, right? So walk me through that. What happened and how did you decide to do that?
Life got overwhelming for me, you know, living up to certain standards of being a professional athlete, especially a boxer where you put everything on the line, you know, every time you step foot into your office. That gets very, very, it can bring a lot of anxiety into people's life. It can bring a lot of, and not just anxiety, but it can bring, sometimes it can tip over the edge, you know, and sometimes you just need some relief. And I was lucky enough to have my manager, Pete Berg, who could identify these things. And he stepped in and he was able to give me a step back and let me really deal with things that most fighters and most athletes don't get to deal with. A lot of times you see fighters go in and have a terrible performance or an excruciating off night for their career, and you hear them in a post-fight interview and they talk about how much stuff they were just going through. Like normal, everybody goes through these things, but we don't get that opportunity to take a step off the scene because entertainment, boxing, basketball, football, it's always a competition. You got to stay where you're at. And honestly, athletes most of the time don't even feel comfortable taking a step back for themselves. So, you know, being presented the opportunity to go into mental health work and learn and do therapy and all that type of stuff, it was a blessing for me because now, you know, I got to invest into my life and not just invest into boxing. When the storm was brewing, you know, I just reached out to my guy, Pete Berg, and I didn't even know what the processes were, but he instantly got me a recovery management team who did an outstanding job putting me in the right places, and I got to work with a lot of nature. I got to really just get myself back grounded again and let that storm pass. So, Yeah, that's what it's all about. I think mainly what most people will have access to and things is therapy. I was lucky enough to have access to a lot, you know, really grand things that realistically I know probably everybody won't be able to go to specifically, but the therapies in themselves were the greatest thing in my whole recovery, you know, program. Mike Tyson once said it, a young, happy fighter is the most dangerous fighter. And that's the truth, because a lot of pressures, anxieties that a lot of fighters have that make them underperform, I don't have. You know, I'm happy, I'm pristine, and I've moved forward in life. I found new, you know, truth in my life and things to live for. So you always see me coming out and smiling and happy to go, ready to go. I'm happy that I can go out in the ring and be exciting and super explosive, but not a care in the world, just being happy to be where I am, you know. So this is going to be my best performance yet, and to be a main event on Before the Bell, that is a step up in my career, and I won't disappoint.
And we welcome you back here to the MGM Grand Garden Arena. We will be seeing Ammo Williams back in action next. He took a short break to work on his mental health. How important is that for a young fighter to do that?
You know, it's very important to work on mental health. I think as fighters, we're all in our heads a lot, you know, and when you're in the ring, it's just you. And so the fact that he's able to come forward and say, hey, I needed to take this break, you know, I give him all, you know, credit for doing so. And a lot of fighters should, you know, take that in consideration.
He took the time he needed. We've spoken to him this week. He sounded better than ever, more motivated than ever. So certainly that was the right decision. And Alicia, you can talk about this. As a professional athlete, as a prize fighter, there is so much pressure. There's fans that are supporting you. There's family. And it seems like the more success you have, the more pressure on your shoulders. Is that what it's like for you as well, and how do you handle that?
You know, it is. There's a lot of pressure. Just, again, being in the sport of boxing, being a prize fighter as well, you know, you have a lot of people looking at you. But what I know that's most important is that I'm going to be the best that I can be. And so when I'm the best that I can be and I know that I'm okay with me, you're going to get a great performance. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't put too much pressure on myself because I know that I'm human just like everybody else. And but I'm also hungry. So, you know, I'm going to continue growing in that aspect of what can I do better for me and just that self-love that you need to have.
And Ammo Williams has been compared to an Errol Spence, so to speak. They're both from Texas. They're both southpaws. That's a lot of pressure when people start to add comparisons. We mentioned earlier Devin Haney being compared to Floyd Mayweather based on where Floyd Mayweather was at Devin Haney's age. What do you think about those type of comparisons for young fighters? Is that good or is that bad?
You know, it's tough because, again, you know, everyone knows Errol Spence, everyone knows the fighter that he is. So when you are compared, you know, people already are going to make comparisons. And so, again, you just have to, like, know who you are as a fighter and say, hey, you know, I'm here to fight and I'm going to give the best that I can give.
So for Ammo Williams, his opponent tonight is Quatavius Cash. And a lot of people may not know Cash's story, but his mother supported his journey. We're talking about all the pressure for fighters that they have to deal with. Cash's mother supported his journey. She was sick. She didn't get the medications she needed because she wanted everything to go towards Cash and his boxing journey. His mother tragically passed away, and now he is fighting in her honor. So obviously, that is going to be a motivated man in there versus Ammo Williams.
Right, I agree. You know, nothing like your own mother's love. So again, I know he's probably holding her close to him. And again, that just gives you that extra love and that support. Like, you know what, I'm not only doing this for me, I'm doing this for my mom who supported my dreams and my goals. And so again, I think that just gives him that extra push as a fighter.
We will be seeing Ammo Williams versus Quatavius Cash. Before we do, let's take a look at some upcoming programming on the Zone.
Fight fans, welcome to the Dazn Boxing Show.
Bringing you all the exclusive news, interviews, and outspoken views from the world of boxing. I'm back in beast mode.
The fight starts now!
Catch the latest boxing news every single weekday.
I'm gonna be honest, man. That kid's pissing me off.
This is what boxing's all about.
From the best fighters to the biggest promoters.
Give me some pros.
The boxing world is going to be buzzing. No one takes you closer to the fight game than the Dazn Boxing Show.
Welcome back, and we were chatting about Quatavius Cash. Of course, he's challenging Ammo Williams tonight. We mentioned his backstory, the personal loss and tragedy, but he's also one hell of a fighter. And I'm going to actually list off his sparring partners, because I want to get this right. These are people he sparred with: Andre Berto, Adrian Broner, Badu Jack, Murata, Ishe Smith, Caleb Plant, David Benavides, Aris Landi, Lara, and of course Sean Porter as well. This is a tremendous group of fighters that he sparred with, right?
It is, very. You know, that's a hell of a resume. So when you are saying, hey, I sparred these people, you're definitely going to give me, like a boxing fan, some eyes on you, you know? Like, what type of fighter are you? If I haven't even heard of you. Like, I'm going to look at that and be like, okay, he's coming with something.
When you look at sparring top level competition, right? That's one thing. Going in the ring and doing it is a whole nother. From your experience, in terms of what you've learned sparring in the gym, how does that translate to what you bring out into the ring?
Yeah, you know, I think it's just, again, being comfortable. You know, when you're in your hometown, you're in your gym, you're comfortable. Again, do the same thing here, but also know that you have someone who's coming to win too. This is the time where you are able to, like, lock down and say, okay, it's time to fight, but I'm also going to have fun doing it, right?
And that brings us to our main event for Matchrooms Before the Bell. Ammo Williams back in action. To get things started, we're going to throw it up to our Master of Ceremonies, David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the MGM Grand Garden Arena, we are set to go with a special middleweight attraction. At this time, please welcome to the ring, Quatavius Cold Hard Cash.
And there is Quatavius Cold Hard Cash, 29 years old, 14-2. We mentioned he's sparred top competitors like Sean Porter, Caleb Plant, David Benavides. So you know he's been in there with top opposition. And tonight he takes on young, undefeated Ammo Williams.
And now set to make his ring walk, please welcome the undefeated Austin Ammo Williams.
And here comes Austin Ammo Williams, undefeated at 8-0, just 25 years old. He got a late start to the sport of boxing at age 19, but he's been a young star in our sport. Took some time off for mental health, and you can see there that he's certainly ready to put on a tremendous performance tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the MGM Grand Garden Arena here in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA, live on Dazn, we are set to go with a special middleweight attraction. It's all being brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing. We're sponsored by Hennessy, Never Stop, Never Settle, Bet Online, MGM Resorts, and JD Sports. Introducing your three judges scoring this contest from ringside: Chris Flores, Ricardo Ocasio, and Don Trella. And at the sound of the bell, your third man in the ring, referee Raul Caiz Jr. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 8 rounds of boxing scheduled in the middleweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner wearing the white trunks with the green trim. He's scaled at the middleweight limit of 160 pounds. His professional record, 14 wins, 2 defeats. He has won no contest, with 8 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights out of right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Quatavius Cold Hard Cash. Cash. and his opponent across the ring fighting out of the blue corner. He wears the blue trunks with the silver and green trim. He also scaled at the middleweight limit of 160 pounds, bang on. His professional record thus far perfect, 8 fights, 8 victories, 6 of them coming by way of knockout. Here is the undefeated, hard-hitting southpaw fighting out of H-Town, Houston, Texas, Austin, Ammo Williams.
Fighter chief second only, please. Fighter chief second. Mouthpiece.
Mouthpiece. All right, gentlemen, to receive the instructions in the dressing room, know what I expect. Good, clean fight. Legal punches, these are a bit high here for you. Legal punches here for you. Touch gloves, good to both of you.
We get underway here for our main event at Matchrooms Before the Bell.
Ready.
Round 1 underway. Karan Bhatia on the call, joined by Alicia Bumgardner. Ammo Williams, undefeated, 25 years old, in the blue trunks. Quatavius Cash, the challenger here, in the gray trunks. And we've talked a lot about Ammo Williams, his journey to get back into boxing, to get back in the ring, took a pause to work on himself. And you saw him, Alicia, on that ring walk. You saw him during that fighter introduction. He looks like he's in a much better place.
Much better place, yeah. He came out smiling. That's something I do. So, you know, it means like you're happy to be here. So we definitely seen that energy.
And Ammo Williams working the distance. Landed a jab and a left hand to the body. He is a southpaw. We talked about the comparisons to Errol Spence. If you're a young southpaw from Texas, they're going to compare you to Errol Spence, and that's the case for Ammo Williams. Big left hand landed there for Ammo Williams. And we mentioned the heartbreaking story for Quatavius Cash. His mother helped him pursue his dream of boxing. She put all her money into him, and as her health was deteriorating, she skipped out on her medications. She wanted everything to go to his career. She ended up passing away, and Quatavius Cash has dedicated his boxing career to his mother's memory. And he's looking to use that here tonight against Ammo Williams. Big left hook landed there for Cash. And Cash has been backing up Ammo Williams here.
Stop. Break. Right back, one punch. Here we go. Box. Let me see that spit.
Would you like to see more activity from the young Ammo Williams?
You know, I think he's doing what he has to do right now, round 1. Still fill him out because, again, since he is a southpaw and Cash is not, you have to still be a little safe because headbutts are common. And I think he's still filling him out this round.
Certainly we can often see head clashes between orthodox and southpaw fighters. End of round 1. Definitely a close feeling out round. Let's look at some of the highlights here. Ammo Williams landed that left to the body. But Cash was certainly game. He landed that big right hand. Definitely got the attention of Ammo Williams. Welcomed him back to the boxing ring. Huge left hook there for Cash. Ammo Williams said even though he took a few months off, he never stopped training, kept himself in the gym. Emma Williams said, "I came into the sport late, but I progressed fast, and I feel like I cannot be stopped." And in front of him is tough Quatavius Cash as we go to round 2. Emma Williams in the blue trunks, Quatavius Cash in the silver and green. Big left hand by Emma Williams, and Cash is hurt.
Definitely have to be patient, right?
And is that the end of the fight? The referee is going to stop it. Emma Williams with a second round TKO. That is one way to re-announce your presence to boxing. Tremendous left hand by Emma Williams. Cash was hurt. They tied up and went down, and the referee took a look at Quatavius Cash and decided to stop the fight.
Yeah, you know, like we said, in the first round, he was still filling him out. And again, I think him being patient that second round, you know, tremendous.
Let's see it again. Left hand, Emma Williams swarmed Cash. He knew he had him hurt. Boom! Here comes Emma Williams, and the referee decided that he had seen enough. And as we've said every time, always better to stop it too early than too late. The referee felt like Cash could not continue. We saw his head get snapped back when he ate that punch from Emma Williams. Tremendous comeback win for Emma. He took some time off, and he comes back and does that.
Yeah, you know, that's just some mental confidence to have, and I think that's great when you do take time off to focus on your mental, and to have a performance like that, I mean, you got to feel some type of, you know, high off that one.
Let's look at it one more time. Huge left hand. It was a straight left. And you have to like that you see Ammo charging in. He wasn't standing back and admiring his work.
No.
He wasn't waiting for the referee to stop it. He swarmed and he wanted to get the end of the fight, and he did. To get the official particulars, we're going to throw it up to our Master of Ceremonies, David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Raul Caiz Jr. calls a halt to this contest. The official time of the stoppage, 26 seconds of round number 2. Your winner by TKO, he's still undefeated, Austin Emma Williams.
Austin Emma Williams improves to 9-0. 7 of those wins by knockout. The 25-year-old took some time to get himself right. We said emotionally, spiritually, he looked happy. He had a smile on his face. And then he went in the ring and proved it physically.
Exactly. You know, when they all connect, you know, that's great.
Great win for Emma Williams. And if you look at the other side, Quatavius Cash, we mentioned what he's been through, tragedy and loss. He sparred with top opposition.
Exactly.
He hung in there with Emma Williams in round 1. And in round 2, he got caught. And that can happen in boxing.
Right.
Tremendous knockout win for Emma Williams. So we were speaking of Quatavius Cash.
Right.
Sparred top opposition. Now he's been in there with Emma Williams, who is certainly a star now and looks like he will continue to be. If you are Quatavius Cash, you only had about a round and a few more seconds after that. Anything you can take away from this loss to go build on?
Yeah, you know, just get back in the gym immediately. You know, don't take no time off. Don't even feel bad for yourself. You know, this is boxing. Continue working hard, because, you know, the next fight could be your fight. So that's just the type of confidence you have to keep building in yourself. I know sometimes a loss can knock your confidence down, but get right back in the gym.
And let's take a look at some of the highlights Austin Ammo Williams. We saw him making his way to the ring. He looked like he was very happy to be there, and he proved that in the ring. Round 1, Cash did not make it easy, right? Landed the left hook, but then round 2, the big left hand, and Ammo Williams swarmed the hurt Cash, and the referee saw everything he needed to see. No count necessary, waved it off, and that gives Ammo Williams his 9th win as a professional, 7th knockout win. Ammo Williams said he came into the sport late. He didn't look like someone who came into the sport late with that performance.
No, not at all. I think, you know, it just confirms for him taking that time off was what he needed. And so it's good to have that confirmation for yourself that, you know, you got a performance like this.
Tremendous win for Ammo Williams. And we've been talking about his story all night. Took the time off for mental health. Not that you needed to show that that worked, but if you did, he looked better, he looked happier, he was able to get a tremendous win. So certainly the right move for his career to take some time, get yourself right mentally, spiritually, physically, and come back, right?
Yeah, you know, regrouping. Again, reflecting on yourself as an athlete, as a person. You know, when you're in that ring, it's just you. So I think he did everything correct. And, you know, with that performance, that's just confidence that he needed.
Later tonight, we are going to see Devin the Dream Haney take on JoJo Diaz. That is going to be our main event coming up on the Zone starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time. But then next week, we spoke about going to enemy territory.
Yeah.
That will be Chris Algieri's assignment. He's going to take on tough, undefeated Conor Benn. Let's take a look.
Reserve the date, December the 11th, massive card coming back to Liverpool. Conor and Katie Taylor, big double header.
I'm going to finish this year the way I started it, and I'm going out with a bang.
Can Conor get past this test?
We're chasing world titles, that's what we all work hard for.
This is a perfect next opponent. The guy can fight, former world champion, let's not forget.
So this is going to be a good test for Conor Benn.
Katie Taylor defending her undisputed lightweight title.
I just want to make history in the sport. I want to be the best.
By far and away the biggest fight in women's boxing.
Boxing calendar never stops.
December the 11th, Liverpool, but you do not want to miss this one. It's a Christmas special. Let's have it!
Chris Algieri will have that tough test as he goes into enemy territory. You're an expert going into enemy territory. Your advice for Chris Algieri?
You know, again, just believe in you. Have that confidence. I think now we're seeing so many underdogs and just people being undefeated that this is boxing. So, again, this is part of the game, and go over there and just do what you do best, win.
We'll see what happens. That's next week. Katie Taylor also on that tremendous card. But tonight at 5 o'clock Pacific, you're going to flip over to the Zone. It's headlined by Devin Haney, JoJo Diaz. We mentioned the undisputed welterweight championship between Jessica McCaskill and Candy Wyatt. Philip Hergovich also in action. Montana Love. What are you most excited to see tonight?
You know, I'm always excited to see the women, you know, on the big stage. Again, it's just amazing seeing and being a part of the women's growth of women's boxing and what, you know, Dazn is doing. It's just amazing, and I love to be here in the atmosphere. Again, I love boxing. I love just seeing the competitive fights and just the world champion pedigree fights that we give.
We will certainly have top-level fights. Alicia Bumgardner, thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching this, you want to flip over to the Zone at 5 p.m. Pacific time. We have a stacked card, top to bottom, and the top is, of course, Devin the Dream Haney defending his WBC lightweight title against the hungry challenger JoJo Diaz. For Matchrooms Before the Bell, this is Karan Bhatia. Thank you so much for being with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome. It's now time for the featured bout of the evening. The fight starts now!
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special. And it's no hype. I'm telling you, it's special.
No respect to this guy. Let's go. Now he's got that fire in the zone.
You better believe it now. That was something special.
Canelo gets the win.
20 rounds, 12 team victories. Her professional record, a perfect one.
Remember, capture the body.
Great finish from a great finisher.
It was Lamb versus Lion.
And still, the